pledge allegiance and justice for all. Thank you. Uh, Ms. Estromera Jimenez, can you take the roll call?
Sure. Mr. Benahan Grajales. Okay. Miss Burks Jennings.
Present online.
Okay. Mr. Daniels. Online, Mr. Medina.
Present, thank you.
Yep. Miss Perez.
Present.
Mr. Sokolovic.
Present.
Mr. Traber. And Mr. Woodson. Okay, and we have a quorum.
Thank you. We're going to take the student representative reports. We'll go with in-person reports first. So, Mr. Bika.
Okay. Good evening, members of the Board of Education, superintendent, faculty, and everyone in attendance. My name is Christian Bika, and I am a 12th grader at the Magnet program of Central High School. I would like to share several updates and accomplishments from my school. Today, I was one of many Bridgeport Public School students recognized by the Rotary Club of Bridgeport for our achievements and contributions. In addition to today, Central held its honor roll recognition ceremony in the auditorium, and this honored students who achieved honor roll status for all 3 marking periods consecutively throughout the school year. We've also officially concluded AP testing for the year, and we commend all students who participated for their dedication and hard work. On May 22nd, we held our Senior Scholarship Awards ceremony, where we recognized graduating seniors for their academic achievements and their scholarships earned. Scholarships from Bridgeport Caribe Youth Leaders, the Rotary Club of Bridgeport, the BPT Board of Education, and First Serve Seals were awarded to many deserving students. In athletics, our boys volleyball team qualified for both the FCAC and SEAC state tournaments and will continue competing in the state playoffs next week. Additionally, several of our track and field athletes have qualified for the state tournament, and we wish them continued success. Student activities also continue to remain active across the community. On May 28th, Central will host its annual chess tournament in the cafeteria, welcoming students to participate in friendly competition and school engagement. Tomorrow, May 26th, Central will hold both its National Honor Society induction ceremony and senior recognition to honor our students' leadership and academic excellence. Tomorrow, our students will have the opportunity to attend Caribe's annual trade fair, which is designed to expose us to various career pathways and opportunities within the trades. CHS's senior prom will take place this Friday at the Woodwinds in Brantford, and we are looking forward to an enjoyable and memorable evening. We're also excited to announce that senior yearbooks have officially arrived and will be distributed during the pre-prom senior breakfast on May 29th. Additionally, we are currently discussing the next steps for the Interact Club chapter, including officer elections and preparations for our end of the year celebration on June 9th. Finally, graduation for the Central High School class of 2026 will be confirmed to take place on June 18th still. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations. Lose them? Want to take a quick pause or? Take a quick pause. All right. All right. Sorry, we lost you for a minute, guys, but we're back. Everybody back? Yeah, so, Deborah, are you on?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, you can go now.
Okay, thank you. Can you see me?
Yes.
Okay. So, good evening, members of the Board of Education. I'm an 11th grader, and I'm representing Bridgeport Military Academy. So, as we approach the close of the school year, Bridgeport Military Academy continues to focus on maintaining academic progress and providing meaningful experience for our students. This summer, we will be assigned both reading and math work to support continued learning and prevent what is commonly referred as the summer slide, which is the loss of academic progress during approximately 10 weeks when school is not in session. While our students have made strong gains this year, many are still working towards reaching the same academic levels as their peers in surrounding communities, particularly as they prepare for the college and career opportunities. We are proud to report the successful completion of end of year assessment with outstanding participation of 99% complete of NWEA, 97% for NHSS assessment, and 97% for Reading Plus. Those results reflect both the commitment of our students and the dedication of our staff. In addition to academics, students participated in an engaging field experience, including trips on May 14th to the Fairfield University Art Museum and the Peabody Museum for Science and Social Studies Learning. On May 15th, our physical education department hosted a trip discovery adventure park, promoting teamwork, fitness, and outdoor learning. This past week showcased students' leadership and school spirit. On Thursday, May 21st, our Drums and Bugle Corps and Navy Drill team proudly served as the color guard at the Housatonic and Gateway Community College graduation ceremonies, representing BMA with professionalism and pride. On Friday, May 22nd, we conducted a fire drill to reinforce safety protocols, following our monthly company competitions. Students competed with enthusiasm, and the final results were first place Foxtrot with 3,500 points, second place Alpha with 3,400 points, third place Charlie with 3,300 points, and fourth place Bravo with 3,000 points. Looking ahead, we are preparing for several important events. Our rescheduled award ceremony will take place on Thursday, with seniors and juniors recognized in the morning and sophomores and freshmen in the afternoon. On Friday, we will conclude our company competition session with a final reward award ceremony to celebrate students' achievement and teamwork. Thank you for continued support of Bridgeport Military Academy and our students.
Thank you, Deborah. Alrighty, I don't see any other students online, so thank you both for your updates to us. We're gonna go on to, we do not have public comment. Anybody signed up, so we'll just move on to chairperson's report. I do acknowledge that Mr. Benahan Grajales has joined the meeting and Mr. Woodson both online, and Mr. Medina's in person now. So with that said, we'll move on. So the only update I have on the progress of the state intervention is I did send an update on the 22nd to the Deputy Commissioner Hughes and his team. You guys are all CC'd on that email. It just showed the updates for the year in regards to the goals that we set this time last year, actually, and how the progress we've made towards those goals. And so you can see that in your email. We are in the process of completing the RFP. I asked the remaining board members, please complete them tonight or no later than tomorrow. We have to meet this week to choose a firm. So if they're not completed tomorrow, your voice won't count in terms of the evaluations. And so when we do meet. So please complete that if you are still on the list of incompletions. And that's all I have for my updates in regards to the state intervention. Is there any questions about that? Seeing none, we'll move on to committee reports and referrals. The operations committee will meet next week on I believe it's the 3rd, bless you, on June 3rd. And we'll have the updates for the budget on that night, as well as I believe there's a referral for nutrition, a nutrition update. So if there's any further referrals, please let me know now. Okay, so next week we'll have those updates. Moving on, we have the Instruction and Support Services Committee, Mr. Traber.
ISS is meeting tomorrow night, first regular meeting. Agenda is out, posted online. We're looking at the PAC PTSO spending for the year, and we're looking at SPED, having an extensive discussion on SPED, the reorganization, and what we're doing in the district.
Any referrals to Mr. Traber, Mr. Sokolovic?
Yeah, Eid al-Adha
It's tomorrow.
is on the agenda?
It's tomorrow.
Oh.
It's not on the agenda.
Is it going to be discussed tomorrow at the meeting? Well, I would like to refer Eid al-Adha as a holiday back to your committee, because we left it up in the air.
You have something? Mr. Medina?
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to just confirm, I thought I put that over to your committee with the other thing. You were gonna handle that?
Who's on? What are you talking about?
That I had, the holiday that I wanted to get a committee made to go through that stuff. And I thought you had those two refers, that one and also
email me?
the,
Did you email it to me?
no, it was never requested for email. I did it
Oh.
in one of the meetings.
I'll look back.
Okay.
Mr. Traber?
Which committee are you referring to? Because
I think he's talking about the Operations Committee.
Pardon me?
I think he's talking about the Operations Committee.
Okay, I don't understand operations. I had asked that it be referred to policy.
Okay.
Because the way in which we add holidays
Would be a policy update.
needs a policy. That's what when we discussed it at my committee meeting, it struck me that, my argument in the discussion when it was there, Joe, is that there's no policy in the board for how we add a new holiday. And, that came up in the discussion that we did have at my committee, which is how do we decide to add new holidays? And how do we decide whether we keep holidays? How do we change holidays? We had that whole whatever you want to call it, about Columbus Day, Indigenous Peoples' Day, Italian Heritage Day, that we went through a few years back. And sort of how we decide these things. And adding new holidays, the governor then foisted a holiday on us last year, state and national holidays, but within ourselves, how do we control and decide what holidays we want to add? And do we have a policy for reorganizing? Do we have a policy for how many holidays we have? All that sort of stuff. And that was what came up in the discussion that we did have at my committee meeting. So I said at the time that I thought it needed to be referred to the policy committee meeting.
Through the chair.
Yes, Mr. Medina.
That's why what my recommendation was to have an IHAC committee to talk about that, to sit down and talk about
The
to make those
recommendation of the ad
decisions.
hoc, you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what the recommendation
Thought
that
you
you
said
had.
operations.
No, I sent it to you because you said that it could be through that because I wanted to do an IHAC committee just to have those discussions, to figure out exactly almost everything that Mr. Trevor said. So I wasn't there in that meeting, I guess, when it was being discussed. So
And that's
I
why
thought I
I
was
asked
being
you what
handed to the
committee to
chair.
start.
Okay.
thank you.
Mr. Sokolovic.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I think that's actually a better idea than putting it on policy, because policy has like a whole lot of work to do, so, and then it's gonna be a little bit of a lift to come up, if people want to come up with a whole calendar protocol and committee, rather than just approve it as we've been doing in the past and just have
Can't
just
hear me.
like a,
And her,
if we want to just create a whole new policy rather than doing it the way we're doing it, just approving the calendar as a board, we've had the right to going forward. In the past, we've never really had a policy or protocol, and we did add holidays before and reject holidays before without a whole thing. But if we want to do it on a committee level, it seems like it's going to take some work and some debate back and forth. So I think it should be a committee on its own of just to look at the entire calendar. As Mr. Medina suggested, I think that's a good idea.
Mr. Traber?
yeah, this was in the context of the fact that we had already voted on the calendar for next year. And so the calendar had been decided. And the addition of a new holiday for next year had already been, the holidays for next year had been approved by the full board. And so this was, the idea was to, determine a policy and then prepare for the following year when we would, if we were so inclined, add this holiday to our calendar.
We'll put on the next agenda. All right, we'll go on, any further referrals for instructional support services? I will go on to policy committee, Mr. Woodson? Mr. Woodson? We'll circle back by the end of it to see if you're available. Ad hoc committee, so Mr. Traber, the advocacy committee?
The ad hoc advocacy committee held what I believe is its final meeting of this year, this past Wednesday, to sort of sum things up, talk about how we did, where we're going. We had a good meeting last Wednesday of a lot of key players in the community, and talked about what we need to do to get ready for the next year. So I thought it was a good discussion. And we intend to keep meeting with individuals and groups in the community to start getting ready. One of the things that we talked about was, how well we did do this year. And how to build on that for next year, because next year is obviously the critically important fight. It's the long session where the biennial budget will be established. And that's where the big money is. And that's the big money that we need to address. And the governor has created his blue ribbon commission or committee to study it. And that's his way of deflecting, but that will supposedly come up with a report before the session starts. That'll be a factor. But in the end, it's the long session where they establish the budget. And that's where the big money is. What we did this year was extraordinary in the sense that we got money that we didn't expect to get from the state. And we got money from the city that we've never seen in the 30 years that I've been doing this. So we need to build on that for the next year within Bridgeport and then outside of Bridgeport with other cities and towns throughout the state. And that's what we talked about doing, and we'll continue to build on and presumably start at the beginning of the year. We started, obviously after the new year in January, February this year, because that's when the committee was formed. So,
Thank you. Mr. Sakala?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. I do got a referral, but if you're not gonna meet, I don't know. Because we still, I do have a referral, but if we're not gonna meet, I don't know how to get this off, because we got $5 million in bonding that's sitting out there that we still need to speak up for. That's still dangling in the ether that where the city has to prove that they don't need supplemental funding, but the entire state just proved that they do need supplemental funding. So I think we could bring pressure onto the governor by advocating for that $5 million as a whole group, as a whole city, the same way we advocated for everything else, because we still got a bit of a gap, and that $5 million could close the entire gap. As second, I think we should have influence in the beginning of the Blue Ribbon Committee and meet with people and try to speak with the delegates and the people on the committee and give our suggestions and what Bridgeport needs for those. So I think we should be on the ground level of that and somehow come up with a strategy.
I didn't hear that second one.
Getting, working towards influencing the Blue Ribbon Committee and
Well,
position statements and what
I
have
don't-
you of Bridgeport Public Schools.
let me start with the first and the second. An ad hoc committee has a beginning and an end. As the year expires, the ad hoc committee expires in my mind. I discussed that and reported at the last meeting that I thought the ad hoc committee was expiring. I'm expecting that the chair will start it up again at the beginning of the next year. I haven't had a chance to sit down with the chair to discuss that, but that's the decision of the chair.
Right. Many
it-
committees also meet in
Sorry,
June.
Was
as
I
well.
had, I'm assuming that the chair will make that decision, but I haven't had the chance to discuss, sit down with the chair and discuss that, but she had asked me about that. And I had answered her question to say that I thought we were going to be wrapping things up for the summer. It didn't mean that we weren't going to individually be working, as I just described in my report. There'll be individuals doing work to get ready for the fall. But as a committee, we're not going to be meeting, we're not going to be having meetings over the summer per se. So we're not going to be posting meetings and conducting meetings. So there's that. Secondly, as you know, because you yourself have been suggesting it, there are other people, some of us will be going up to watch what the Blue Ribbon Commission is doing, monitoring it. How we might use that or not use that is something we still need to think about and observe. You have an opinion about what to do with it. I may or may not agree with your opinion when I see what it's going to be doing and whether or not it's a useful thing to try and influence or not influence. The $5 million, it seems to me, is tied into the whole discussion that we haven't had yet because we haven't had a chance to hear a full report on the MARB money because that's OPM. And OPM is what we're going to hear. The MARB report, the part of the law that set up MARB is a subdivision of OPM. The money that was set up in the bond bill last year, the 5 million, was done through OPM. The abortive meeting that you saw on video, that shared with us on video from the CABE conference last fall, a year ago, was through OPM. So presumably that money is sitting somewhere in OPM. And as the law sets up this subdivision of MARB in the State Department of Ed, we need to deal with that, try and deal with that, it seems to me, through that avenue of State Department of Ed, subchapter of OPM, to see if we can access that $5 million, which supposedly died after that year because the law was written that it had to be done by a certain date. Now, we can still try and find it. There's lots of money available through OPM, as I've been told. But again, this is all speculation on our part to try and figure out how to access it. But to me, that's it. I don't disagree with you, but that's the board as a whole, figuring out how we want to monitor that when we have the discussion that we've all agreed we want to have with the designated, which hasn't been done yet, to my knowledge, person from the State Department of Ed, designated State Department of Ed / OPM representative.
Yeah,
Mr. Skalvik?
yeah, just for a point of information and clarification, that $5 million is still available. There was no expiration date. I've read the bill back to forward. I've talked to several people. That money is still there. We were supposed to have another meeting with them. It's totally separate from the new MARB. This is why it's important for us to continue advocating because that money is still there. And that expiration, the reality of expiration is that after we could not bring pressure on the governor anymore, and he's not running, that money will be gone forever. So I thought it would be viable to have a meeting in June for the ad hoc committee, like every other committee does, and usually expires at the end of the year. Every other committee is meeting in June, so I figured we could discuss this at the ad hoc committee, come together, a meeting of the minds, and bring that same pressure for that $5 million that we brought for everything else. And that's all I got. And if we're not gonna hold a meeting, I would like to re-refer that to
Finance.
finance, please. Thank you.
Operations. Okay, just send that in an email to me.
Yes.
Mr. Benahan, do you have anything for your ad hoc committee for the facility master plan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. April 30, we have our meeting with the master plan with George Garcia facility. He present us our information, what's going on with Bridgeport Public School and about the budget, and also Mr. PJ giving information about what's going on, what we're gonna be the process about the schools. Because just for the record, and like to know and be, but everybody understand that we are not gonna be closing the school, because people, they think we go closing the school, and we are not going closing the school. So in that meeting, we have information clear. I know PJ and the cabinet, send information very clear. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Do you have another meeting date?
Sorry?
Do you have another date for
No,
your
no,
next meeting?
Dave, we're not on 100 refer, so as soon as I have someone, I'll let you know.
Okay. Mr. Woodson, are you available? I would just say send any referrals to, oh, there he goes, Mr. Woodson, for your policy committee?
Yeah, I don't have any updates, and I don't I don't even know when the next meeting is. So I guess we'll have Danielle send an email for when the next meeting
Okay.
on policy will be. Thanks.
Alrighty, who?
Okay.
Oh, Ms. Esther Mayor Jimenez, CABE report.
Yeah, I reported everything on last time, but I did want to reference a few webinars that CABE is actually hosting, one of which is about effective meetings and Robert Rules of Orders. And that's actually tomorrow during lunchtime. And then there's a few other webinars around like governance and how to use the Ed site. To help with like local decisions, discussions and decisions. So there's a few webinars out there that might be useful for folks. And that's all.
Did anybody attend the Day on the Hill, or not the Day on the Hill, the legislative update? No, okay, all right, if anybody did, I wanted to give them a chance to speak to it. All right, we'll move on then. The next item, Dr. Avery is not here today, so there is no report. However, his team did come up and give us the substitute House Bill 5323. That just, it just gives updates on, and if you can correct me, Mr. Carafa, missing anything, but it's giving an update on the use of Fairchild Wheeler to house BMA going forward next year. Is it temporary? Temporarily housing BMA while Winthrop is being redone. I can't think of the word. Remodeled, rebuilt. And so BMA is going to be moving into the Fairchild campus. And that information will be going out to families and the school, the school community tomorrow. And so we wanted to make sure you guys have an update on that. So some light reading tonight, if you want to read the whole bill, it's in front of you. And those online, it's House Bill 5323. Public Act number 26-139. All right, so moving on, is there approval for the consent agenda? Or motion for the,
So
moved by Mr. Medina,
second.
second by Mr. Benahan, Ms. Esther Mayor Jimenez, sorry.
I have two edits to the meeting minutes.
Okay, go ahead.
Um, on page, on page 2, it references Bridgeport Military Academy needs to be added. And that's on page 2. And then towards I think it's page 13, it references in a section where it says Mr. Medina moved to revise policy 2131A as discussed. It needs to be added that Mr. Sakalovic seconded that motion. And that's all the edits I have.
Okay. Any further discussion on that? Okay, so all in favor as amended, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. We'll move on to new business. The first item is the item for executive session. It's a request for approval of workman's comp settlement for our Cologne. And if we go into executive session, we'll be going in with Attorney Yeomans and the board, and possibly Dr. Ciano. Yeah, and Dr. Ciano. So is there a motion?
Executive session for this conversation, settlement talk with Arclone.
The motion was made by Mr. Sakalovic without a microphone, and then seconded by Mr. Benahan. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Those of you online, please join the executive session link, and we'll be back. All right, we're back from executive session. It is 7:27. Is there a motion to be made? Ms. Mayor Jimenez?
Yeah. Motion to authorize and approve the workers' compensation settlement as discussed in executive session for our Cologne.
Is there a second? Second, Mr. Medina. Any further debate? All in favor can say aye.
Aye.
Willie Medina.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? That motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Yeoman. She's not back in the room, but thank you to the attorney. Next, we have the approval for the emergency contract to repair the chiller at Central High School. Ms. McCarville.
Good evening.
Hello.
Hello. This, this contract is, pretty much an emergency. It's urgent. We did a qualified purchase, which means, we didn't go through the bidding process. The reason for that was, it's air conditioning and we need it to be working at Central High School. One of the reasons is we have that brand new gym floor that's wood and we don't want that to buckle. And another reason is air quality and environmental issues that could occur if there's not air conditioning. Currently, there are 2 chillers at Central High School. One chiller is only working right now. The second chiller, one compressor needs to be replaced fully and the other compressor needs to be repaired. The company High Tech installed these chillers when they did renovate as new back in 2015 at Central. And they maintain these chillers on a quarterly basis for us since it's been installed. So we reached out to them for a quote. We also did our due diligence and we reached out to one other contractor that's in the area that could work on this type of chiller, F&F Mechanical. High Tech's quote came in a third of the cost of F&F Mechanical, and we're asking for this contract to be expedited. It's $66,000, and he can have it here within weeks, the equipment and repairs.
This did not, again, this didn't go through committee, so I'll give everybody the opportunity to ask any questions because of the emergency factor. That's why we didn't put it on for next week. So Mr. Sokolovic?
Yes, a couple of questions. These are relatively new chillers. How long do chillers usually last before they fail? Or they come into issues like?
Usually about 15 years. We did look for a quote to replace the chiller and we submitted that in our capital plan. Each chiller is about $500,000. So
And what
period at 66,000, we think would be a deal and a steal.
what kind of warranties do we get for the chillers if the expected life's?
The warranties usually with new construction is for the first year. So Basic's chillers will be coming up in a year, in a few months, I mean.
Wow. I mean, you would expect them to work a lot longer than they're working, and what we're doing,
They do, but Central High School is highly used, so they're constantly working there. So the compressors do eventually fail from working so hard, depending on the load and the heat.
understood, thank you.
Mr. Traber?
I move to approve the emergency contract to repair the chiller at Central High School.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Traber, seconded by Ms. Mayor Jimenez. Any further debate? All in favor, say aye.
I have a comment.
Oh, sorry. Don't vote yet.
Just to be clear, if I understand, 15 years is what we would expect. This lasted 11 years.
This was about 10 to 15 years, depending on the type of chiller. This is the
No,
only,
I'm saying that this one is 11 years old.
correct, it was installed around 2015.
Right, okay. So it didn't quite make the 15, but it's not gone yet either.
Correct.
It's gonna be repaired. It's not, we don't have to replace it. We just have to repair it.
Yes.
Okay. So it's not a complete loss of money. We're just repairing it. Okay.
Let me see Mr. Medina's hand.
being repaired?
Each chiller has two compressors. So chiller number 2, one compressor is fully being replaced and the second compressor is being repaired. They'll remove it, repair it, and bring it back.
And you got your microphone? Is your microphone on?
And those parts, so one of them is being replaced and the other one's being repaired. That new one that's being replaced, is that one, that part has, warranty?
I'm not sure. I can check on that, but usually anything new does come with the warranty.
And
Yes.
who's paying this 66,000?
That's coming from capital? Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. Woodson?
When they repair rather than replace, how long does a repair last?
According to the vendor, he has already repaired one compressor in chiller 1. That's why we currently, fortunately have one whole chiller running. The chiller can run with one compressor, just not at full load. So we have 2 compressors on one chiller running now, and he repaired one of those a few weeks ago on a Saturday for us.
Yeah, but how long, once they repair it, how long is it, how long does it last after they repair?
I
it?
don't think we could actually tell. It's like your car. If you repair a part in your car and you use the car, it could go again.
So why are we just completely replacing it?
We did put in a request into our capital plan this year to completely replace both chillers. But in the meantime, it's sort of an emergency due to the reasons I stated in the beginning. We have the new gym floor and airflow and comfort for those in the building.
Mr. Nookwa? Mr. Nookwa, can you grab a microphone?
If I may clarify, they're repairing the compressor or replacing the compressor. That's very minimal amount. To replace the whole chiller is 1.2 million.
Okay.
So people will understand. Replacing the whole chiller, gutting it out complete is 1.2 million. We did it at Battalion. Well, the city funds, through the capital budget, the city funds it. What happened in a lot of cases, when these contractors, when they put these chillers in, they undersize them. So the chiller will be running too much and it burns it out. That's what happened with Battalion. But what George is doing now, any new construction, the contractor must deliver the capacity of the chiller that the architect has put in there. These contractors undersize it. You cannot see their tail light once they leave. They might pay, might save $200,000, but they keep going. 10 years, the chiller is burnt. But this is repair, not a complete replacement.
Thank you. Mr. Benahan?
Thank you, Madam
Oh,
Chair.
Mr. Woodson, were you all set? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was also.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lincoln. Thank you.
Mr. Benahan, sorry.
Thank you. You said it costs $500,000, half $1,000,000, right?
Each chiller, and there's 2 at
And you said the
Central.
guarantee of only for 1 year.
The new chillers, yes.
Yeah, it's not the way they can find a guarantee, more years, or it's only exactly 1 year. They cannot be, more years, the guarantee. Let's say 3, 5 years, something like that.
For the new chillers, I'm not sure. When they come with construction, we do get a 1-year warranty with them. I can look into it for you to see if there are chillers out there with longer warranties, but usually when it's a new chiller, it's from new construction, and that's.
And the purpose, this one is not new chiller, it's just replacement.
Mhm.
Repair, sorry, repair.
Right, no, I'm asking, because we're talking about almost $500,000, and have a guarantee for 1 year. I'm like, okay, it was so much money, unless, that's why. All right, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. Sakalovic?
Oh, yeah, I'm looking at the maintenance and repairs. Mr. Unquo, did you say, because I'm looking at the justification memo on the repair, I'm not sure if there's two of them yet, and I haven't seen the second one yet. It's saying it's operating costs. Operation. And the replacement.
Sorry,
in the-
just to, for online, he said this is coming for operating, not capital.
And that's for both the replacement and the repair is gonna both be operating. And
We need a microphone.
I-
They can't hear you online.
What
So
is the total amount for both?
66,000.
It's coming from operating.
Thank you.
They're not gonna bond it. They're not gonna bond $66,000
We,
repairs.
we have a capital fund for building maintenance and repairs, that
Where are you checking it from?
capital.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
on here is capital.
And on our online document is on the.
Okay.
I'm
is
not-
on operating, on the justification.
Document you're looking at, that might be the one for the quarterly maintenance for high tech.
It's quite possible. All right, let me see. Maybe you are correct.
Yeah.
yes. Thank you. Well, I mean, we gotta go either way. But chiller maintenance for smart chiller.
Yeah, for maintenance, we use operating. For the replacement, we're using capital.
Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you.
Seeing no further hands, we have a motion and it's properly seconded. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Aye. Any abstentions? All right, that passes. Are you?
Yeah.
Is that it for you? Okay, thank you. We're gonna move on to the approval to enter into a joint contract with the city for the Employee Assistance Program services. Dr. Ciano?
Hi. Through the chair, we had an opportunity to bid on an employee assistance program with the city of Bridgeport. So it covers all city employees and Board of Ed employees. It's a chance for some cost savings. You have the information in your board packet. So we would recommend that we partner with the city on this important feature for our employees, so they could get all kinds of support, not just mental health support, but other kinds of, service and support that they might be going through family issues, or they might need help with care for older parents, something like that, that they could use the service. So it's a good partnership with the city, and we're, excited to put this opportunity in front of you for a vote.
Mr. Sakalovich?
Yeah.
I didn't see your hand, but I just felt you.
Yeah.
You needed
I'll-
to say something.
Yeah, I'm trying to see where it is in here in the packet. I'm not actually seeing it, but I do have questions about why this is being proposed as a contract rather than an RFP to go out to bid for a firm. Because before we go out for the contract, we're going to do something with the city. We usually get it before us, and there's issues that have traditionally come before us with dealing with the city, because we got to make sure there's a proper, a proportionment of funds to pay for these things and all that. And I really, is it in the packet? I didn't see it.
Through the chair.
Continue.
So we did go through the RFP process with the city. The city initiated it. We were using the same EAP service anyway for services. So the same company had been providing services for both the city and Board of Ed. So the city put it out to bid. We interviewed several bidders that submitted bids. And so we did partner with the city through that RFP process.
So we're already using them, we're just combining it, you're saying?
Correct.
Got it.
You want to keep going?
No, give me.
Mr. Oh,
Mr.
Mr. Traber?
Okay, so following up on what Mr. Sakalovic, I thought was gonna go to, the apportionment. We just kept the same ratio, or it would seem to me that gets adjusted depending on you.
I believe in the packet, the cost per employee is for both Board of Ed and city employees. I don't think they broke out a cost for Board of Ed versus, I think it's just a per employee cost.
The proposed contract is straight up just the cost per employee, and then we just took the number of employees in either unit.
Correct. We achieved cost savings by combining the employees for a larger employee number, which brought the bid down versus bidding for Board of Ed employees and then separately for city employees.
I got that. So use, though, didn't come into play, because use has always come into play. In medical, I know in health insurance, that's always been, so it doesn't come into play in a contract like this?
For employee assistant programs, it's a little different than health. So
I get it.
they have up to a certain level of visits. So every employee has that level. It's not exactly based on the,
Forget that I was involved with the APs.
Yeah.
So I understand how that works. I'm just asking, use doesn't come into play on the cost side?
no.
Interesting.
Mr. Medina.
Trying to clarify.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This document says dated forward. I believe this is part of this, what we're speaking now.
I can't see
It's
which one you're holding.
Request legal services. Is that part of your thing? And it's got here title document, employee assistant program, EAP services contract with a
Yes.
number.
That's part.
That's the same. So I just want to note on the second, if you want to call it line here, paragraph, if you would, the box, it says, date forwarded 5/19/2026. Requested response date says 6/1/2026, or when available, as all legal/contracts must be reviewed before the BOE Contracts Committee. We don't have a contracts committee.
That's why it's before the board.
Correct. I think it's the committee of the whole. So this is before the full board.
Okay. I'm just reading
This
this
is
because I
coming
was
from,
confused.
yeah, and we just changed our whole bylaw, so the city probably hasn't caught up with our committees yet.
Okay, I just thought this is the legal documents. I thought it should be stated correctly, but not a problem. I just wanted to note that because I just caught my eye. Thank you.
Mr. Newell, did you have a
Yeah, just to clarify what Dr. Sienna was saying, the winning bidder.
is it on?
Yeah, I think so. I
Oh.
think it's on. The winning bidder is based on the unit cost they charge per employee, both on the city side and the Board of Education side. So each side will pay the unit cost based on the number of their employees. So Board of Ed will pay unit cost, the agreed upon unit cost based on the number of Board of Ed employees, and the city we pay the unit cost based on the number of employees. Historically, when we were using KGA, which is the old company, last 3 years, it was running or costing the district about $41,000 every year. That's when we were using KGA. But now we're switching over to Lexington, which is their price is cheaper than KGA. So you might get a slight discount. Plus, it's also what they call cost containment. After 5 years of using KGA, Lexington unit cost will be cheaper than KGA. So cost containment, meaning over time you're containing the number by not going up so high with inflation cost of living increase.
Thank you. Mr. Traber?
Yeah, I have this vague memory in the back of my head that the last time we did this, we had a comparative table. Remember that? Couple, 3 years ago, we had a comparative table that showed us the three bidders and what they were offering, what the costs were, what the differences were.
Yes, generally, purchasing department already made that determination of all the bidders. And this is the company that awarded the bid based on their competence and based on their unit cost. If you read the package, it says that they are purchasing already scrutinized all the bids, all the bidders. So they're already basically awarding it to Lexington. If you read the summary, it tells you every good thing about Lexington versus KGA, which was doing it before. It's one-page summary, is there.
Yeah, I see the summary. I just don't know why we weren't sort of. I guess the last, I'm just wondering why it's been changed. But
They're using the same company, they're just combining the city and the board side. I think that's,
no, we were given three.
We're using a different company. The previous company, we
were
were,
given
had
the
separate
three
contracts.
companies Summarized in
okay.
a one-page sheet showing us their
Mhm.
costs, what services they were offering, what, and we were given a summary of the bids, and what was being recommended and why, and we voted to approve it. But
Did you have a, Mr.? Second. Mr. Medina?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Does anybody have, Mr. Nuko or Dr. Sian, like an estimate of what the savings we're looking at possibly by joining this and doing this? That way people can maybe understand.
Generally, the previous contractor was around $3 per employee.
So what's the savings? You're saying generally it was $3.
Minus,
I don't know. where
so
we
now
fall.
it's $1.14 now.
Okay, thank you. That's where we fall. So we fall between the 500 and the 1,000 employee mark.
Correct.
Thank you. That does it. Thank you.
Ms.
It's almost a third.
Ramirez?
Yeah, so I'm not going, so
Yep, you're on. Do you want to go or?
yes, so my question's around the insurance policy that we already have with the state, and does this, by incorporating an EAP, does that help us or lower that premium any?
I believe the state partnership plan is separate from employee assistance programs.
Okay, thank you.
so I'm just sort of rounding out Mr. Medina's question. What is the savings then? You gave us a per employee savings. What does that add up to total?
I don't have that figure right now, but it's, we were paying $3 roughly per employee. Now it's about $1.14.
I heard that. I even wrote it down. It means nothing to me. It's the total that's relevant.
A dollar what? A dollar what? No,
I don't know how many employees we're paying for.
$3 what?
Mr. Nook will get that number for you.
It really doesn't matter, just multiply it by, sorry.
Now you use a microphone. They're getting that number.
Do it a different way. We could say it's over 50%, but that doesn't tell me either. Close to 60%, in fact.
Mhm.
I don't think you put it in.
I know. You just let it go.
It's because the reason it's really important.
No, we can get that figure for you from the city.
Okay, let me do it this way. Can somebody give me a ballpark? How many employees we're paying for?
Let me try it this way. Again, in the last 3 years, we paid 41,000, the district paid 41,000 every year.
Okay.
If the cost is going from $3 to $1.14, that's a 62% discount.
I said 60.
62% discount times 41,000 that we paid, you're saving $25,000.
Mhm.
25,000 reduction in what we were paying, which is why I made a statement. It's somewhat of more of a cost reduction and cost containment. I used those words earlier.
Any further questions? Is there a motion?
You haven't made a motion already.
Who moved? Who made a motion?
About 13,000
I missed
employees.
Mayor second it. Yeah, you're right.
No.
You said 40, you said we
It's
paid,
about 4,700.
I divided 40,000 by 3. No, I'm not
We were
gonna,
paying $1, $3. Now we're gonna be paying $1.14.
okay, I'm not gonna beat this dead horse, but
I mean, you see.
it is basic.
Percent reduction in cost.
I get it. I figured that out already, Nestor. I'm just curious what the total was, so I'm gonna let it go because I wanna go home like everybody else. But it is a basic fact that easy enough to know how many employees we have that we're paying on. That's all.
Mr. Medina,
Thank you for that, Mr. Traver. Just want to add to my question before. I thought that we felt as an agency under company under the 501 to 1,000 being forth the $1.14. If we're looking at over 1,000 plus employees, the agency, why we are not at 106 and or 124? Okay, in the graph, I think it's maybe, there's no page number, the second or third page, amendment number 3, it talks about where we are as an agency. It gives a monthly with a dollar number, which I confirmed with him, the $1.14 came from this. The cost of 3 60-minute in-person counseling session of each employee per issue each year, that's at 3. And then the other box is at 6 at 60 minutes. And you have rates there. He used the 114, so I asked when he stated that if that's where we felt as an agency, but if we're looking at a higher number as an agency, why we're not at the 106 for the 3 60-minute, and then at the 6 the 124, or are we at just a flat 114? I'm just reading the documents in front of me. Yep.
I do. I'm scrolling through to I think it's in the appendix, B is the.
And then with all due respect, I just found another piece of paper, because there's a whole bunch of them. With all due respect, I see here from the Livingston Group, employee assistant program rate and services summary for the city of Bridgeport. They were at 4,200 employees, 3 session assessment at referral model will be at 106. The 6, like I stated, is at 124, and an 8 session assessment referral was at 175. So are things getting worse for them and better for us? I don't understand that. And I'll show you this document respectfully.
That's correct. You're on the correct column in Appendix B. It's page 1 of Appendix B. That's the price schedule for Lexington. So you're correct. We're at the cost goes up based on the amount of sessions you offer an employee. So if you're offering the employee the 6 session, it's more expensive, and then the 8 session is more expensive than that. That's why they.
Yeah, I agree, but I'm still stuck at that $1.14 you had mentioned earlier. Doesn't coincide with the number of employees we have. And when you made that statement of the 114, I asked, do we fall under that category of the agency with 500 plus, 1,000 plus? And then now as I continue to look at more paperwork here, the Lexington Group one that is here labeled under the city of Bridgeport, 4,200 employees, 3 sessions, 106, 6 sessions, referral 1.24, and the 8 sessions at 1.75. You mentioned 1.14. So I'm trying to get clarity. Where are we? Is it at 114 to 106 category of over 4,000 plus employees?
You're correct. It's the row with agency with 1,001 more employees.
Okay. Thank you, through the chair.
Can,
Thank you very much.
can somebody confirm for me, either John or Maritza, if there's been a motion for this item? Did you move
I-
this or the previous item?
I do not have a motion for this item.
That was the previous item you moved. So is there a motion for this item?
I can
Is there-
make the motion.
Mr. Traber made their motion, so if you could second it, we can move on.
Second.
Any further debate? All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Let's do a roll call, because I'm not getting any.
Well, I was
Sure,
waiting
can we
for
do
the
a
next one.
roll
I'm
call?
sorry, Madam Chair.
Sorry.
Mr. Benahan Grajales,
Aye.
Miss Burks Jennings.
Aye.
Okay, Mr. Daniels absent. I vote yes. Mr. Medina,
I'm gonna abstain.
okay. Miss Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Sakalovic,
I'm gonna abstain.
okay. Mr. Traber,
Yes, but I think we need to get better answers.
Okay, he voted yes.
okay. And Mr. Woodson,
Yes.
okay. Motion carries.
Mr. Benahan has to go. He passed earlier.
Oh, he did. I keep doing that. I'm sorry. Mr.
Yeah.
Benahan Grajales.
It's okay. Yes.
Okay, excellent. Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Siano. Now we'll get into, discussion of possible approval of an amendment to the bylaw 9132/9133 to include board members to speak as a right at a committee meeting. Mr. Sakalovic.
Yeah, just maybe a bit of housekeeping to move it along a little quicker as far as our parliamentary procedures. It was tabled at the last meeting and we didn't carry it through for immediate acceptance. So therefore, I would like to add to the agenda bypassing policy 9300 to immediately to bypass the first and second read for immediate approval of, what's the number? Policies 9132 and 9133.
Second.
Motion was made by Mr. Sakalovic and seconded by Mr. Medina to bypass 93, what is it? 9310?
9132 and 9133.
No.
No.
The motion to
Oh, the policy 9300.
9300. For immediate implementation. So is there any further debate on that? On waiving the policy so we get, I forgot your name, really, Mr. Nastasi, like Dr. something. No, it's Mr. Nastasi. I'm so sorry. No, he has a question, he has something to say, speak to. Go ahead. Yeah, there it goes.
Right. Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question. Is this the policy that I drafted that talks about allowing non-committee members to speak after committee members have spoken?
Yes.
Okay, assuming it is, then I may have to correct that because I submitted that predicated on an outdated rule of the city council, which, for better or worse, apparently was invalidated by a ruling of the Freedom of Information Commission. Although I have not seen it yet, they have not sent it to me yet. Allegedly, it exists, where by virtue of letting non-committee members speak, there was a ruling of the commission, although it may not have been appealed, so I want to see it, that said now every member of the public gets to speak as well. Because since they're not committee members, they have no greater standing than members of the public. What the city council did in response to that, in order to sort of negate the result of that decision, was to adopt new language, which now exists. And I'll read it to you quickly. What the new language in City Council Rule 12, council committees, the pertinent part is all council members not named to a specific committee shall be non-voting ex officio members of any standing committee, but shall not be counted for purposes of determining a quorum of such committee. So essentially, they made every council member a member of every committee. Now, that doesn't necessarily solve your problem of the order of speaking, but presumably it would make, if you wanted to go that route, I don't know whether you do or not, but if you want to open up committee meetings to all board members to speak, I would suggest the more prudent approach right now would be to make all non-committee members ex officio non-voting committee members, and then the chair would presumably recognize the voting members first and then the non-voting members. So that's just I'm basically correcting what I gave to you, and I apologize for the late notice.
Before we speak to this, there is a motion right now to waive our policy to make this immediate implementation. So before we, you're gonna withdraw your vote?
Yes.
Okay,
I'll withdraw the motion.
yes, motion, sorry. So the motion's been withdrawn. Mr. Traber?
I think my question was just answered by Attorney Anastasi, which was the question of order is moot because the chair controls the speakers and the chair can call on the speakers on the committee before the chair chooses to call on speakers who are not on the committee. And we can establish a sort of unwritten rule that the chair will call on committee members first without any harm being done.
I think that to solve the problem, which begs the question of, do you want to table this and have me rewrite it and do it at the next meeting so that you actually have the final language in front of you, since I'm sort of changing what I previously submitted, for which I've already apologized.
I would prefer.
I would move to table for the next meeting so that he can rewrite it properly.
I would like you, right,
The table, just, no second yet, but
Thank you, Mr. Bennett.
right, well,
second, Mr. Bennett.
well, the second one, I
Valid.
withdraw it on the middle of the question, but this is just for, going forward purposes. We did have similar language drafted and presented before committee, and it was deferred to the city attorney's office. However, we had additional, language in there protecting us from actually ensuring that there's no confusion that the ex officio members are not counted towards a quorum for meeting purposes
I
as
think that's
well.
what Mr. Anastasi.
If you already have that language available, you can amend it by substitution here. I haven't submitted something specific to the board. I did read you the language from the city council.
I'm not sure if it was given to you yet, and then by the next meeting, can we get your opinion on it, or, your recommended language?
Um,
Is that like if we table it today and we get you the language that Mr. Sakalovic drafted? I
Sure,
think it was you created it.
Yes.
Yeah,
yeah, that would be fine. Again, I didn't sense any tremendous urgency on this, but you do want to have a long-term appropriate solution.
so, yeah, we'll get that to you this week, so that way, 2 weeks, we can come back for it.
Thank you.
But the motion has been made to table the item for the next board meeting,
I'll
and
second.
second by Mr. Benahan. Seeing no other hands on that, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? That passes. So we're gonna table that item. All right, here we go. Last item. Second read and approval of the revised policy series 3000 business slash non-instructional operations for immediate implementation. Now we met, this came through the policy committee 2 weeks ago. And last week we met as a full board online, I believe, to do the first read. So this is the second read. And part of that was there was some clarifications that we needed from the executive cabinet on some of the language around the operations and direct deposit and some other outdated language. So I know those were some of the main concerns that we had before the second read. So seeing we have questions here, Mr. Nikolovic.
Yes, ma'am. Quite a couple, because the second read that's before us is not the same thing that was taken out of committee. It's not what we voted for in the first read. There's a change made, and especially and most importantly is policy 3160 has been reduced from 5 categories. There was conversation about it being 5 or 6 categories. It is now sitting at 4 categories, and this change has not been brought before us at all. And it's just sitting there. If we approve it without reading it as a second read, it's approved. I would like to hear from the CFO what he thinks about this change going to 4 categories from 5, because I think that would be actually in opposition of what we're doing with the city's accounting.
Just clarify the,
3, 1.
hold on, the blue is what we've approved, right, Danielle?
No.
Mike? Mike, please.
Hold on. On the mic.
The highlighted sections are the ones that were revised from the committee.
Thank you.
3160, we did not revise that to 4 categories at committee level.
When we referred it to Mr. Nicole working with Public Works and the city departments, that's what the changes that were proposed. So if Mr. Nicole wants to explain
So
the
they're
different,
not yet because we haven't approved it.
it's,
Nicole,
it's on the,
Mr. Nicole, but you can talk to the microphone. Good. Wherever you want.
Okay, good evening, everyone. When you look at CABE report, what they gave 6 or 7 categories, which their string of object code, what you call object code is account strings, is totally different from the city's object code. They're using 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, 7,000. Bridgeport uses 5,000. If you look at what I had attached, a budget that I had attached earmarked, 5,100 is cut in a section called salaries. 5,111 is in a section called other personnel. So if you look at it, the grouping grouping number 1 is 01 is personnel services, which is strictly full-time salary and part-time employees. Grouping number 2, which is other personnel services, regular overtime, normal longevity, time and a half, unused sick day, personal day, travel. Those are wages to an employee also, but they're taxable wages just like salaries are being taxed. The difference between 2 of them, let me clarify it here. My honest opinion, category 1, section 1, which is 01, which is personnel services, which is strictly salaries and part-time employees. Department or the finance director or the superintendent should not be allowed to make a categorical transfer from salaries to overtime or back and forth. The reason why I'm saying that, if a department has a position that has not been filled for 6 months, if they transfer money from salary savings for those 6 months into overtime, they permanently increase that overtime line item going forward, because the budget will change. The budget number for that overtime line item will change. Next year, they will come back to whoever is the CFO and say, I was budgeted for 2 sanitarians or 2 custodians. Give me my 2 custodians. Meanwhile, they already increased their overtime budget going forward. Now you're going to give them another full-time custodian. Automatically, they increase budget on the other side without anybody knowing. That's the danger. I mean, I've done it on this, I know that's why the way I handle on the city side. You cannot transfer from one category to another because you're permanently increasing that category budget number and come back and say, oh, I had 2 custodians. Give me my 2 custodians. Yes, but you took 6 months of that custodian savings while it was vacant and increased overtime category. That is the danger there that I wouldn't recommend the board to, go ahead.
I get that. I think Mr. Takavi's question is more so that, the items were changed on the document, so it reduced it from 6 categories to 4.
You could make it 5, which means 01 is personnel services.
Yeah.
02 is other personnel services. 03 is fringes. 04 is operating expenses. 05 is special services. Because that's the way the budget is grouped now.
That's fine, that's how the city is lined up as well.
That's the way Board of,
And-
that's the way,
and-
that's the way Board of Education is equally lined up, not just the city.
And that would fit right into us utilizing the city's accounting thing rather than having, so.
So it runs parallel with the city's accounting structure. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. You just follow the guidelines and the rules. You don't go between categories. To go between categories, the CFO, or the superintendent has to come before the board. That's the way it's handled.
And can you clarify the 5 categories?
The 5 categories are, you look at the bolded letters. 01 is personnel services. And what you have in 01 is full-time salary pay.
We're looking at something different.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry, we're looking at different.
You're looking at,
What are you looking at?
It's the budget document
Yeah, we just need it.
included in the packet.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes. 01 is personnel services, which is limited to full-time salary, part-time employees, and seasonal employees. That's where it limits. Oh, okay, sorry, the groupings, Mark just pointed, the groupings go up, not
Gotcha.
down. So where you see O2 other personnel, the grouping goes up, which inclusive of straight overtime, regular overtime, holiday overtime, time and a half overtime, 3 times overtime, longevity. That category is still pensionable. So it's part of, that's why it's called other personnel services. It falls in the same line, taxable category with salaries. Then you come to fringe benefits, which is basically life insurance, health insurance, workers' comp. You know, those are not taxable. If they're not taxable earnings, they're not part of earnings. Then you have operating expenses. You can transfer between operating expenses. The reason why operating expenses is so big, when you're transferring between water and sewer, you can do that if there's a pipe leak. They're not gonna, when there's a pipe bust, then I have to come to the board and say, oh, we don't have money. You just move the money because you don't know, you might have a good weather, you save on gas, you save on natural gas, you save on oil. So you have time to figure yourself out during the year. That's why that category is kind of flexible. Then you go to the last category, which is category 5, which is special services. This is where you contract out to contractors or companies. You cannot transfer from that category to another category. You're limited to what you committed to there. So my recommendation is stick to those 5 categories and don't allow intersectional transfer.
through the chair.
Looking at the
Mr. Takavi, sorry.
But
the actual policy
That's-
language is which is that state, which you just basically went.
right,
through, but
so
we
I
didn't-
kind of expanded it. I'm gonna take the same line that Mark used. I apologize. I tried consolidating going by what CABE is saying or the way CABE has it, CABE has salaries and fringe benefit and the other personnel as one. I don't think it's the prudent thing to do, if you ask me. But again, it's up to the board. Management wise, for your better control, limited to salaries, limited to personnel services.
So we can change the 1 through 5 to match
Right.
the city codes that
Right. Mhm.
Mr. Nakua was just
Pretty much,
going through.
Yeah. Mhm. Giving the board more control, if you
I
ask
just
me.
want to remind the board that you are going to see some changes on here that weren't discussed at the committee because we sent it back to the cabinet to make those changes that we asked. So some of these things were sent back for revisement
Right,
to bring
for-
before us.
Right, and for a point of clarification, I did ask that these be highlighted for us, what was changed,
Just
so
what
we
we
could
see here.
actually look at that.
Yeah.
So it's not approved over
And that's why they
what we
highlighted
already
them.
did.
Mhm.
And that was one of them, I suppose.
So Mr. Mid, you done with that one? Yes. Can you put your microphone on? No, I think he asked for this question.
The point of information is, I thought we were gonna see it though, and that doesn't show me it. I get that I'm looking at this explanation
Mhm.
that Mr. Nakua was just giving us. But I don't see the draft there. In my packet, I'm looking at that document there.
Danielle.
Mr. Kramer, I gave you your packet for the day, and I had a meeting with Mr. McWell later in the
So this is
day
the
that
updated,
we
the most
need
updated item.
So
I don't have it in here at all.
That's what she's saying. She said that she updated it.
It's in,
I'm looking online, right here on my laptop.
Mhm.
And that's what's up there.
Yeah.
And it's not there either.
What's missing? What are you saying that's missing?
The categories aren't listed there. The categories that we just went through, that Mr. Nakua just explained.
We see where it says salaries and employee benefit, 5,000, 5,100, X.
So that's what it's gonna say is salary 51XXX.
Because you have many object codes there,
And then it's gonna say benefits.
it's gonna say benefits. Because I'm using the very 5,100, 5,200. Once you go to 5,200, it becomes fringe benefits. So any number with fringe benefit, any number with 5,200 is fringe benefits, which falls in that category of fringe benefits. Any number with 5,300 to 5,500 falls under operational expense. So we're using the word XXX because you might have a department that has 25 different object
Okay,
codes.
okay, so now, and we're not gonna have a 5 or 6.
You're gonna
We're
have,
just gonna have 4.
you're gonna have
5.
55, okay. You're gonna have 55, 53 to 55, then 6,000 to, pretty much the city stops at 5,600 to 5,900. It starts from 5,600, 56,000 to 5,900, which is the 5 categories.
But not Board of Ed Information Technology.
Where is Board of Ed Information Technology? Which line? Which one?
You've Xed it out.
Let me see, which one you're referring to?
Would have been 2. Right? But the one?
On the screen, wait a
Right
minute.
after 5,600, 5,900.
Property and equipment, you're saying?
Oh. The 5,900, I Xed that because it's just a department that kind of talks about principal and interest, which is not really Board of Education expense. Board of Ed doesn't pay principal and interest. Am I looking at what you're looking at?
Yeah.
Page 529?
Yeah.
Okay,
521.
okay.
Right after 5,900. 521, Board of Ed Information Technology Service.
Yeah, let me see why. Okay. The reason why I Xed out, if you look at the org, what they call org, you have two orgs there. The very first org is 0187-2000, which is a different department. You have stockroom, which is 0187-3000. Then you have information technology, which is 0187-4000. It's because it doesn't have enough object codes, there's no point showing it. It only has two sectional categories, information technology. So a more practical department to use is Nutrition Center, which has all the 5 categories that you're going to be adopting. It's just a sample.
Yeah.
This is the way, this is the budget book.
I got it.
This is Nutrition Center.
Understand.
This is Board of Ed budget book,
I
from the
understand your
budget book online.
I understand your point. You're just offering us a sample.
That's much more fully expanded.
I understand.
A Nutrition Center is more ideal department for me to use because it has tons of objects.
PJ's department's not a good example.
Yes. That's why I Xed them out.
Oh,
All right,
not good.
Mr. Medina.
Thank you, Madam Chair. But just to work with my colleagues here, my brothers and sisters here, so there's 5.
That's
Salary,
Yep.
if I may.
Mhm.
Salary,
Mhm.
benefits, operation expenses, purchase, professional, technical services / supplies and materials, and special services.
Yep.
That's the 5.
Those
okay?
are the 5.
When you say these words, and please bear with me, when you say you can't move, you have a question on that one, Mr. Traver? I just want to give you time. Okay, ready?
That's 5.
Salary,
That's 5.
1. Benefits, 2. Operation expenses, 3. Purchase, purchase, professionals, technical services, supplies, and materials, 4. Special services.
Because
5.
I'm expanding it,
Are you with me? Just want to make sure.
expanding it.
Cinco?
Okay.
So when you had noted on your, Danielle, can you put the other one, if you wouldn't mind, this one up for me? 'Cause you keep on using the words category respectfully, so I'm gonna work with you. You keep on saying category, and this is where we're talking about if funds are transferred.
Yes, with
around.
stay with your microphone. Stay with your microphone.
I just want to point that we, yeah, you're good right there. Either, right there's good. So benefits is on top right now. So if he needs, okay, if you're good right now, let me know when you're done. Thank you. So now salaries is on top.
Yep,
So that's 5,100.
right, but
Okay, thank
you have 5,100 that kind of interrelate. You see where it says 01, personnel services, that's that's the cutoff line for salaries. Then the 02 is other personnel services.
Yeah, that's 52 over here, 5.
No. You gotta go up. You read it up.
Oh, you read it up? Okay. What I wanted to ask is about categories. You use the word category.
Sectional categories, object code, special categories.
So that means from this benefit section here,
Mhm.
he can't move money. He won't be able to move money from this section to, let's say, up to salaries without our permission.
I don't recommend it.
Exactly. That's why I'm just trying to make sure that when you say category, that's where you're saying.
Sectional
But let's say in
categories.
benefits,
Mhm.
if he's here in this line of workers' compensation fee or whatever, there's money there, he can move it down to social security.
That
Because that's within a category.
That is correct.
I wanted to know. Very much.
Like I started saying earlier, what I had presented earlier, because I was trying to follow CABE pattern, the way they categorize it, I don't think it's, for me, I don't recommend it to the board. I'd rather have 5 categories. That's what I'm trying to say. It gives the board more control, and that's what I'm used to. And it makes logical sense, and I tried explaining to you why. Somebody transferring money from salaries to overtime, burn the overtime, come back next year and say, I have 3 custodians, you have to give me my 3 custodians. Meanwhile, with their transfer, they've increased their budget on overtime next year. And they can do it every year, you know. By the time overtime of 50,000 will end up to be 200,000 3-4 years down the road. I'm telling you, the games I've seen people try to play. Well, but it's not, it's gonna be insignificant. They can't even tell.
Yeah.
Just a
They can't.
comment.
Yeah, just to clarify, at the committee, not the committee level, at the last board meeting, it was 5 categories that we discussed.
Mhm.
There was discussion of 6 categories, or even shrinking the categories. Mr. Unquo emphasized, as the CFO of Bridgeport Public Schools, a large city, that we basically need this. In his professional opinion, working in a big city rather than CABE blanket policies for 169 districts, many small, very different districts, that we need this policy direct for Bridgeport because it will serve Bridgeport Public Schools the best. And he's worked on both the city side and our side. So he knows where these object codes, he'll be able to read it, and any financial officer coming from the city side or basically a lot of other big cities will be following the same policy. So it will give everybody an apples to apples comparison going forward. And it does increase our oversight, which is always better. I mean, if we wanted to be more lax, that would be problematic and it would cause red flags, but even if this was a stateside suggestion for us to take more responsibility and more control, it would be seen as a positive overall and not a negative. So I suggest we listen to the professional recommendations of Mr. Unquo and have the 5 categories put back as he stated.
Mr. Traber,
All that notwithstanding, I only see 4 objects up there.
That's what we're trying to put back.
Pardon me?
That's what we're trying to put back and correct, right?
That's the-
Okay, so that's what I'm trying to understand. Are we gonna put a 5th object in there?
Yes, we're gonna put 5 sectional categories, just the way it is in the budget book. I was trying to appease or please, going by what the way CABE structured it, which was salaries and benefits combined as one. To me, I just told you the reason why somebody can abuse this
So
system.
the way Mr. Medina read it, we're gonna put a 5th object in there. We're gonna have object
5
4
sectional
and
cat,
object 5.
5 sectional categories.
Okay. thank you.
Yep. I don't want to use too much accounting term. It's actually called sectional object code categories, but I don't want to confuse everyone.
Well, I got a question for ma'am. May I ask the attorney a parliamentary question?
Sure.
We had this on for a second read. The new language was not included. I mean, the old language that we're trying to put back was in the first read. So can we just make a motion to approve it as the first read, or do we make a motion to add it back to what they changed from the first read? Understand my question?
Uh,
All right.
So the first read, go ahead, say one more time.
I believe the first read, we removed the 6, we went to 5 categories, correct?
That's
We went to
correct.
5 categories. And the same 5 categories Mr. Unclose
Yep.
speaking to now.
Mhm.
And that's how it stood before the amendments on the paper that are before us. So if we approve it as read in the first read rather than this, which is, we never amended it to have this language, the 4 or 6 or whatever have you. It's currently changed in the first read as 5 categories as expressed by Mr. McWell.
You got that microphone right there? You can count to it.
In the first read, it was amended,
To 5.
okay? And now tonight, you're reverting back to the first read.
Yeah, just sticking with the first read because these are the first time we're seeing any of these changes, basically.
And I don't see a problem with that.
No. And through Madam Chair, I've given the board a sample for everyone to see those sectional object code categories. So it's right there. Again, I apologize. I was trying the first time around, I saw it. Actually, I was taken unaware at the last board meeting. I started seeing CABE and blending or mixing salaries and fringes, which I don't agree with, but I just try to comply with it, but it wasn't going too well with me. So this is the right way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's all we got on this one, and we're pretty clear. This is, Dr. Sina. Sienna, sorry, I'm butchering that probably. I apologize for butchering your name all the time. It's not perfect. Any other highlighted changes? I seem to remember one thing that we were supposed to be looking at for legal language. I can't recall exactly.
The
what
affirmative action, we changed those.
Those was changed. And are there any other like languages that we were looking at to, I think it was something with safety we were looking at?
I think with the facilities.
Oh, through the chair, it was the language about the paper directive, you know, that you could pick up your paper paycheck. So we made that more updated. And then
Is it inventories?
that's
I'm looking for it now. Stock cards, stock record cards on the inventories.
and yeah, correct. And the stock card for the books,
That was 3440.
for the books and materials.
Yeah, I'm looking at supplies and warehouse.
And the gender neutral language.
The 3440, removed stock record cards. Inventories. Okay. Which one are you looking at?
Huh?
Which one?
Just whatever was, and just whatever was.
So-
Actually approving.
Okay.
The one y'all were just speaking to.
3440. 40. And where we just removed stock record cards because that was outdated. There was language about business administrator that was changed as CFO in a different policy.
Yeah, I was just looking at, I was just thinking like more material changes that we were discussing. I think there was something with safety and confidentiality that we were looking at as well.
I know what you're talking about.
The safety plan at the board meeting. That sentence there on the goal. That's what we added based on the last week's
Yeah, I think that's it. I see that the student appeal was added and it's still there.
meeting. Yeah, we added that.
Those were the major ones. Anything else would be probably minor that troubled with, so that's all I have.
Let me go back to teams. I don't see any other hands. Oh, there we go. Maritza Estremera Jimenez.
I dang it, I'm echoing again.
I hear you. We hear you.
Okay, I have a number of edits, or really just questions. So, and I will say, I did finish reading through this, so some of it is just asking for clarifying questions. So nothing major. So for policy 3425, it's referencing internal audits. And I was curious to know if we wanted to reference the annual audits that we regularly do as part of our budgeting in here. It just seemed like a lost opportunity for me.
I think that's somewhere else, but I can't tell you for sure.
Through the chair.
Go ahead, Dr.
I think is the reference to the 9,000 policies that you adopted about the audits that you would agree to, you know, annual audit. I think it's a
I
9,000
believe
series.
it sounds familiar. She's saying.
Gotcha.
I believe you're right, Dr. Sam.
Yeah, I just didn't know if we wanted to re-reference it in here.
You footnote it?
Yeah, Mr. You mind if I give a little input on this one? Because you just brought
Sure.
something in my mind. Thank you. We at the discretion of the chief financial officer or for perhaps adding some language or at the direction of the board.
Madam Chair,
Dr. Nicole?
what they're referring
Doctor.
to, what they're referring to in this audit
Mister.
is strictly for student activity funds.
Okay, gotcha.
That's what they're referring to.
Scratch that.
Student activity funds, which is either the CFO or the superintendent feeling that there is something. He doesn't have to feel anything, actually. He can actually ask the city auditors, the city employee auditors, to go and audit student activity funds.
Okay.
So it has nothing to do with the annual audit. that the-
Gotcha.
The annual independent audit that the city has to conduct. What it means is that they can ask the finance department or comptroller's office, which is on the city side, to send their internal auditor to every school and basically do spot check on their student activity fund, make sure that they're actually giving parents receipts, that the money is really secure, that somebody's really somebody's not leaving $1,000 in the drawer, which is not a good practice. So monies have to be deposited on a regular basis and not have petty cash. That's what this is referring to.
Understood. Okay. So my next question is for policy 3430. Actually, and this is not so much of a question as it is the third bullet to strike out the last sentence of that third paragraph. Because it's really about smaller towns and we don't have a board of selectmen. So that last component there from legislative, instead of towns legislative body, it should say city and then get rid of everything else. So it would be removing after or in a municipality in which the legislative body is a town meeting to the Board of Selectmen. Did you want me to make like an official motion?
Second. The motion wasn't made yet. Go ahead, make a motion to amend it.
Which ones? Motion to strike out language related to municipalities, small municipalities and the Board of Selectmen in policy 3430.
Okay. Motion was made by Ms. Esther Ramirez, seconded by Mr. Traber. And, okay, any discussion? We'll do a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Sounds like the ayes have it. So that's been amended. Anything else?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm just I put little tabs so I can find them quicker. So in policy 3516D, it sounds like this is related to safety, that we're gonna be getting the results of safety items. And I just wanted to clarify that the board itself will not get access to that stuff because of confidentiality and all of that we discussed last week. And wanted to clarify that should be going to the superintendent's office and his staff. Oh, 3516D.
If you scroll down some more. Yeah, yeah. Through the chair, are you referring to the policy evaluation paragraph?
Yes. Yep. So it almost seems like the board would be doing that, but that doesn't seem accurate based on prior discussions.
It's a state statute.
I believe it may be embedded in state statute that the board has to receive an annual report, or it's got to be compiled, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not 100%, but it feels state statuesque.
Yeah, through the chair, we can add the sentence that we added on the previous page to that paragraph about the confidentiality statement.
What, sorry, what
Evaluation.
number? I apologize. Which policy?
It's
3516.
3516D. So we would just add the confidentiality statement after the statement that, yeah, we would just add that.
Okay.
So that the evaluation that the superintendent gives the board will be confidential.
Yeah. That,
Okay. Excellent. All right. Moving right along, policy.
let's make an amendment on that. A
Oh,
motion to amend
okay.
it.
Okay, let
Mr.
me,
Traber made the motion.
oh, second.
Okay. I just remember microphone so they can hear you. But we got it.
Amend 3516D as rewritten.
All in favor, second with Mr. Esther Mayor Jimenez, all in favor for that amendment, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Alrighty, thank you. I'll go ahead to your next one.
R3517. This is a question around the building checks, and I wasn't sure if we wanted to explain how often building checks should be taking place. It's 3517. Under the heading building checks.
Can you say your question again?
Yeah, should we be adding how often these should be happening?
Through the chair,
Yeah.
I think the first sentence states they should be made on Saturdays, Sundays, and at such other times as necessary by the superintendent's designee. Are you proposing to clarify at others such times?
No.
So should we be specifying like, hey, all our buildings should be getting checked on a minimum quarterly, something like that?
Is this a weekly thing for every building? Is that maybe the question? I'm not sure if that's the question. Mr. Traber?
I think the answer to that, Ms. Esther Mayor Jimenez, is no. I think it's left to the discretion of the superintendent
Yeah.
and the director of operations. The different buildings are gonna need different amount of checking and problems. So a given building may need checking more often for a particular problem. And I think that's all gonna be left to the professionals.
Okay. I'm gonna ask a question that might be a little controversial. Facilities master plan, do we want to add in here that it needs to be done X amount of years, every X amount of years?
I'm hesitant because of the cost.
My opinion would be yes, but we can't afford it.
Yeah.
And last time we waited 15 years before we did the next one. So I think that's really it's a frivolous. It would seem to me it would be something that doesn't mean anything.
Gotcha. It would be almost like unenforceable unless
Yeah,
I
Mr.
get
Sakala,
what you're
I
saying.
think.
Right.
Mr. Cobb?
Is that a separate embodied policy or you're trying to add it to this one?
Well, I just want to make sure that we're consistently checking our buildings, like if there's something that needs to be repaired. Obviously, we have maintenance in every building, but I wasn't sure if we as a board wanted to have something more concrete, like, hey, every so often this should be getting checked.
All right, thank you. Yeah, well, I'll concur with Mr. Chamberlain. If it was an existing policy, I would have just suggested adding subject to funding availability, but since it's not an existing policy, I don't think we need to go there. Thank you.
Right. Okay. So I think we can go ahead and move on.
You want to respond to that one?
Yeah.
Hold on, Mr. Medina?
Through the chair and Ms. Moritz, I just want to speak on this same point that you're making about building checks, if I may.
Mhm.
Go for it.
Thank you. Because it says that the building checks are to be made on Saturday and Sundays, again, through the superintendent designee. But then it says that the building checks is to be accomplished by the head custodian. So it states who it is. Is it the superintendent designee? And also, I just question through my colleagues, is these checks are being done, are they being reported back to us or who they be reported to? Crickets, okay.
Well, no, I mean, I think we get updates throughout the year with some facilities. So I think that would be included in the update.
So can we make
Not
that happen?
necessarily
Make sure
like-
this is stated specifically that we would like to get some of these updates, because I want to make that specific.
It-
If it's not already,
It might
that'll be a
be,
great idea, just to make sure.
well,
We don't want to take anything for granted.
trying to think. That's,
If this just brings kind of like recollection of many students coming over here speaking about the bathroom conditions and things like that, XYZ. So if there's no running water at the sink or whatever, or sinks are broken, then this thing should have been, catching it, let's say. But I don't think this.
I think we get like in the updates from facilities throughout the year. That would be brought up during that time. I'm trying to look and talk at the same time at our assistant policies,
No, we
sorry.
can work it in later.
And if, I don't know, do we want to get reported on every bathroom leak or is that
No,
the
that's not
concern
what I
or?
mean, no.
Cause
I
I
just-
know we get the reports during the committees and then, in the past few years, we've had reports almost annually on the different items that have been brought up that need like either capital improvements or just, items that need to be, need to be replaced or whatever.
No, it's
I
just
know
interesting.
both Mr. Cobb and I are both looking right now at the same, for the
I know you guys are
policy.
looking now.
I feel
That
like we've
helped
had it
because
somewhere
when I
else.
did my school visits a few times throughout the year and stuff like that, some playgrounds were being spoken about, some areas. And if this stuff was happening, they would have seen that stuff last year, the year before that, because this stuff has been, let's say a playground in particular has been deteriorating over 3-4 years. But if this was happening, I think that would have been brought up before the condition and the safety conditions. So that's why
I know
a lot of
Mr.
things are,
I know Mr. Garcia and operations are not here right now, but there is some kind of system in place, if I'm not mistaken, where, if there's some kind of like ticket system where like if there is a cracked ground, like cement or something that's put a ticket in and they'll fix it, or am I making myself like in that sense, like where if there is a pipe burst, there's a ticket that gets put in,
Mhm.
and so
Yeah,
it,
through the chair, we do have an internal reporting system like that through the chief of, but it's just, I think the debate is how much the board wants to be notified about.
like, do we want
That
every,
be in
yeah.
a regular report, so we can check on that with Mr. Garcia.
Mr.
Yeah.
Sakalovich?
Can we pull up 3510, please, Ms. Cochon? I believe that's where it should be embodied. Thanks to AI.
Operation and maintenance. I knew I saw something like that.
Somewhere it should say quarterly report somewhere.
Yeah, summary on October 1st. second paragraph.
Mhm.
Through the chair, we can ensure that the comprehensive maintenance plan includes items that the board wants to be included in that report, so we can work with Mr. Garcia on that.
All right, does that answer? it? Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, Ms. Esther Jimenez.
Yeah, so policy 3520.11A. The second paragraph references the school system. And throughout this entire document, we never refer to the school system. So I'm proposing that we refer to this to either the Bridgeport Board of Education or Bridgeport Public Schools. Danielle, you're highlighting something here.
Is that where you are, the Bridgeport Public Schools?
The second
The
paragraph,
second
the school
paragraph.
system. So we can just say the Bridgeport Public School System.
Yep. Okay, that's, should I make the formal motion for this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Through the chair.
Go ahead, Dr.
I
Siano.
believe, so if you look at the third sentence in the first paragraph, I think it should say
System.
Bridgeport Public Schools system, because I think it's the actual information system that will ensure appropriate access to people.
Yeah.
So I don't think it means the school system. I think it means the
Oh, the system itself.
IT,
Okay.
the IT system.
So that makes sense, yeah, actually. So instead of the schools, can we say the system?
Bridgeport Public Schools and then system lowercase, like the
Can it just
first
say,
paragraph.
can it just say this, the system will maintain access to the BPS system? Cause you're saying it's just the system itself. not
Correct, like the
school- yeah.
operating system,
So,
not
not,
the,
like
not the
it-
school system,
yeah,
the
take out
computer
Bridgeport Public
operating
Schools.
system. Yeah,
cause it's not Bridgeport Public Schools, it's just the system itself. Just take out Bridgeport Public Schools system. I would eliminate school and put.
through the chair,
Yeah.
it's not referring to the school system people, it's referring to the information technology system, so the operating system. The operating system will maintain, that's how I read it, if you guys concur.
That makes more sense, actually.
Okay, so I'm gonna do the motion for, so motion to revise policy 3520.11A as discussed.
Second.
All right, motion is made and properly seconded. Any further debate on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, that one goes.
Okay. Okay. Policy 3524.1C. This is just a general question. So it's talking about the pest management and and there's all types of requirements. And I wanted to know if this is in the parent handbook, because there's requirements that we have to provide this to the parents. Is this, are we gonna give this entire 3,000 policy to to our parents, or is a subsection of this within the parent handbook?
It's on the website, will indicate how parents may register for prior notice.
Through the chair.
Go ahead.
So these are part of, I think, 3 or 4 policies that are state mandated, so we can double check on the notification to parents about these, or whether we need to post the entire policy, or if we can post part of it to the parent handbook.
Okay. The other thing that I was wondering, like I remember Dr. Avery at the beginning of the school year, he ended up sending a notification about asbestos, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, as I'm going through this document, there are so many compliance items, and how do we ensure that we're consistently complying with everything in this policy? And I'm wondering if we can bundle some of those items to make sure that we're compliant.
Through the
So,
chair.
Go ahead.
So this is specific to the hazardous material in school that was state approved by statute. We can check with the city attorney's office if there's a separate asbestos or other hazardous materials, but these are all essentially directly from the state statute that they, essentially copied and pasted it into the policy, but we can check on asbestos.
okay.
If it's not in this policy, it might be in another.
Right.
I think, Mr. Scott, oh, you're done? Okay. Miss Estromera, go ahead. I meant it.
Okay. Policy 3524.1B. So item number 10, like halfway through, and I will say,
Sorry, can you say it again? 35,
R 3524.1B.
okay.
Bullet number 10, halfway through, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, line item 5. It says, obtain the services of a certified pesticide applicator. Oh, that it got fixed. Okay, in my version it said certifies, and okay. Never mind. Um so in policy 3524.1C, item number 19, there's it goes back to my earlier comment. Item number 19, there's another compliance item here. And I was wondering, to make sure we like comply with all these things, can we like automate some of these items to make sure that they actually get like done? And the reason for it, there's like easily over 10 compliance items in this document alone, and that doesn't even account for other. So that's the reason why I'm asking, can we try to automate some of these things?
I mean, is this a question you have for the board or the staff?
The staff.
All right, I think. So like, how are they tracking that we're doing this?
So
Ye-
through the chair, again, we can double check with the chief operations officer about how they send notices for pesticide applications and those kind of things.
Okay. Yeah. And 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 this is really just in case we use pesticides. I realize we have an entire green cleaning program that we really try not to use that stuff. So
Before you go on, Mr. Shaver?
Yeah, that's what I was asked. That's sort of what I wanted to understand. This is when and if we're using pesticides, right?
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is all if we're using these things. This is not sort of some sort of heads up, we may be using these. This, the asbestos question you asked, I remember when we cleared out a section of Blackham for asbestos, and then it had to be duly notified. But otherwise, we're not dealing with some general notice at the beginning of the year. This is our policy. This is like, we just want to make sure that when we do something, we make sure we follow policy, right?
Right.
Ms. Estromera?
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yes.
all right. I just wanted to make sure.
All right.
Yeah.
When you say this is a question of of certification, making sure that we're.
Yeah, and the policy does say a few times, like, the district will attempt to not use pesticides because they are harmful, and they'll try every other avenue and will only use pesticides as a last resolution. If there's any other comments on that one, I'll move to the next policy. It's 3524.2C. And this one has some language in parentheses that I think should be struck out.
Which number? Sorry.
3524.2C. Right there. So if no website is available, the board must make the policy publicly available or available upon request. And the reason why I thought that needed to be struck out is because we do have a website where we post all these policies at.
Okay. You don't know?
Yeah, may I
Yeah,
comment? Thanks.
Mr. Takalik.
Yeah, I'm not really sure about that because not everybody has a computer, so maybe we want to keep a hard copy on hand for people who don't have a computer. It's just maybe for FOIA purposes or whatever, it's just somebody to look at.
If that's the case, then I think
Because
and
then
I
we get a
agree,
request.
right, then this needs to be rewarded because it says if there's no website available, and we do have a website available. But I do agree with you, Mr. Sokolovic, that if someone wants this, we should be able to print it out and give it to them.
All right, so if no website is available. So if we just take out the part that says if no website is available and have it read, the board must make the policy publicly available upon request.
Mr.
Yeah.
Nastasi?
Apologies for intruding. It doesn't matter what you say.
Yeah.
It's publicly available through FOI if someone wants to make an FOI request. I think the only difference is if they come in and say, I'd like a copy per FOI, you can charge them. And I don't know why you want to deviate from that, frankly, but that's up to you. But by not having it in there does not alleviate you from the obligation to make hard copies available.
Right, and to your point, it is it's embedded somewhere else in policy that we do have the charges, right? I believe, yeah. I would throw that, and I think I'll go withdraw my suggestion to Mr. Ramirez and support the deletion of that line.
Okay. So you're making an amendment to strike it? Huh?
So I can make the motion. So motion to remove in policy 3524.2C, the language in parentheses.
Second,
Yeah. Motion's made and seconded. Any debate on that? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, go ahead.
And same exact edit for 3524.2B as in boy.
Where is it?
At the very bottom, just above definitions.
Okay.
I think she said B, is in boy.
Yeah, 3524.2B.
In the regulation. In the regulation.
Under notice requirements.
Page 5. Are you on? She's on the whole thing.
Oh, right there, Danielle. Yep.
So right about definitions, just strike it. Motion to strike the item in parentheses, the sentence in parentheses.
Second.
All right. Any further debate? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Any abstentions? That passes.
Policy 3532. I have a question on the second paragraph, I guess. It's just after the numbers. It says superintendent should be advised immediately by the city of any claims against the insurance. Wouldn't that be city attorneys or city's insurance? Should we specify who at the city? Because there's a bunch of departments that we work with.
Through,
Go ahead, Dr. Siano.
through the chair, I don't know that that applies, correct? I don't know that.
Be advised immediately by the city, any claims.
Dr. Ciano, do you mean that that doesn't apply because we have our own insurance, so we would be contacted directly?
If I may, through Madam Chair, the district, both the district and the city, we're self-insured, both health insurance, automobile, pretty much, even liability, if you want to put it that way. So we're self-insured, we pay as we go, if you want to call it that way. Even on workers' unemployment, we're self-insured with unemployment, we're self-insured with workers' comp. Because the premium is, in all fairness, not to any insurance, the premium will be outrageous. Let's just call it what it is. So we're self-insured. When there's a lawsuit brought by somebody on behalf of the district, it generally gets sent to city attorney's office, Mark Anastasia. Am I right?
Yes, I generally agree with everything you said with one caveat. I
Good.
believe, and you would know this from your prior role with the city, I believe the city's finance department carries insurance for facilities, for the buildings.
For facilities, but
So,
it's a $750,000 deductible. You gotta hit 750 before you make the claim.
Right.
So the district eats, or the city eats up.
but if a claim comes in, we
If
still.
a claim
should
comes in
It's-
$2 million, once we hit the first 750, the insurance kicks in.
As far as the second aspect goes, when a claim or a lawsuit comes in, they are filed through the city clerk's office and then referred to the city attorney's office.
Right.
So I think all of that is beyond this.
Mhm.
I believe this talks strictly to insurance.
Mr. Traver.
So what that essentially says is the language is fine. It's vague, but it's fine.
Right.
Through the chair, I think,
Yeah.
we didn't catch this at the board meeting last week or at the committee, but, would you consider, again, sending this specific policy just to review? Because I don't know that in Bridgeport that the Board of Ed maintains its own insurance for those 6 categories.
I would like to approve everything today and then.
I understand, but I don't.
But I know you don't have, you don't. have
I wish we had, it's, it's called insurance. It's 3532 insurance.
35, 32,
Of what?
32.
So it's saying that the superintendent has to obtain insurance coverage for the district, but I don't think that applies in Bridgeport. It's a CABE model policy for districts in Connecticut. However, like Mr. Nakwo did with the financial control, the internal control policy, this might be something that we might
We got Mark here. He
Go ahead.
probably answer.
Mr. Sakalavik?
Yeah, I think I got a suggestion to fix this. Superintendent was the designee shall ensure appropriate insurance coverage for the district. This way he's ensuring that we're getting it. He's not obligated either way, and I think that'll cover both things, and we've got the attorney right here. Go weigh in.
I agree with you because I don't know that the Board of Ed carries any policies on its own. They may, but I don't know of that. I know the city insures the buildings that it owns, and I think it includes the schools in that. I also know that both the city and the Board of Ed are self-insured. It's not uninsured, but self-insured for purposes of both third-party liability and workers' comp and motor vehicles. The only motor vehicle insurance I'm aware of that the city carries direct with a policy company would be the WPCA, I believe, insures some of the vehicles.
That is correct, but WPCA is a separate quasi entity with a different EIN number. So that's different.
Well, they're a city department, but you're correct. They're an enterprise fund.
An enterprise.
Funded by a separate user fee.
That's correct. Yep.
Mr. Traber?
Okay, again, I believe that the language is still fine as it is. I understand what you're seeking to do with your proposal, and I don't think it's far off. But the superintendent obtaining the coverage, whether the superintendent has obtained it directly or indirectly through the city, the superintendent has obtained the coverage. It doesn't say buy it, it doesn't say contract for it, it just says obtain, and obtain is vague enough for me. I'm sure that we have it, I think obtain is sufficiently vague that.
I think you're correct, because, for example, the Workers' Comp Commission has specifically been requested 40 years ago and has consistently approved us being self-insured. Again, not uninsured. We don't carry a policy. It's a pay-as-you-go. So I agree with you.
I think the language is sufficiently vague in all those areas that we are not, we don't need to fine tune this. And the part down below where the city has to, the superintendent shall be advised immediately by the city of any claims against the insurance. Again, if there is somebody who tripped on the sidewalk and decided to sue us both, the city's gonna let us know. I think all that stuff is sufficiently vague that the city is gonna let us know. So if somebody sues, the city attorney's office will pick up the phone and call us and say, hey, somebody is suing us both.
We're not only gonna let you know, but
You're
we're
gonna
gonna
represent
defend you.
So I think it stands up
Did you want to say?
to our
something?
needs.
I just
Okay.
wanted to make sure it wasn't tabled. Seems to
Yeah, I
be-
want to, yeah. Ms. Estromero Jimenez?
Yeah, no, I was gonna say after hearing that explanation, I actually feel pretty good about this policy, and I don't think we need any further changes. Um, I do have more.
Wait, Mr. Skolovic wasn't done.
No,
No, he is.
Oh, I'm
You're all
sorry.
right? You're all right?
Go ahead, you can continue.
Okay. Policy R3541F. This is a small grammatical change. I'm wondering in item C under miscellaneous regulations. Okay. So it says except for magnet transportation across school attendance area lines in not permitted. I think that should say is not.
You're right,
And that,
that one can be written off as a typo.
yeah. That's it for this one. Policy 3541.44. I had a question around this one. It's talking about transportation and teachers bringing kids in their private vehicles, but it says any teacher. So I'm looking at third paragraph. So it says any teacher or parent using a private vehicle to transport students on a regular basis must provide evidence of liability insurance. Now, that says, I just wanted to clarify for my own knowledge. That's if I was like picking up my kids and other students, right? This is not me just picking up my kids at school. I have to be transporting other kids than my own. Is that correct? Like for sporting events or something like that?
Through the chair,
Yes, Dr.
I believe it's a carpool provision. You know, if you're on your street, if you're picking up a couple kids and taking them to and from school in your car, you need to, you know, if it's more than your own, or if you're driving them to a field trip or practice,
Okay.
if you have a couple athletes and that kind of thing. I
Okay.
don't think it means
I didn't,
on a regular basis is
What's this policy?
which one are you on?
it's
35?
3541.44.
Okay, privately.
I think that makes sense. That's the way I was reading it, but I just wanted to double check.
Yeah, through the chair,
Yes.
those first two items, number 1 and 2, define,
Yeah,
and then the third paragraph just says if a parent is going to do number 1 or 2, they need to show us that they have liability insurance.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. 35, next policy I have is 3541.5A. This is also a grammatical one.
regulation 3541.A,
Yes.
41.5A, sorry, 0.5A. 3541.5A,
Yep.
regulation.
And I'm looking at 3A, and there should be, it reads, I think, okay, the principal and nurse of the school nearest to the accident. So add to after nearest. Okay, and that's it for this one.
Okay, next one, sorry.
Regulation 3542A.
3542A.
This one references food stuffs. I don't think stuffs is a word. Can we rename that to say food related items? I am under department supervision. Second paragraph in that section.
Of foodstuffs, oh, okay. It's a regulation 3542A. Food service.
Yep.
Under department supervision. Second paragraph. In the absence of director of food services, including the acquisition of foodstuffs.
Keep going down,
you there?
Danielle.
A little lower. Department supervision. Lower. Keep going. And then the second paragraph, second line. Yeah, acquisition of foodstuffs. How about that?
Actually is a word.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Is it?
Foodstuffs is a word?
It's
Yeah.
one word. Is it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I
Okay.
learned a new word today.
There you go.
Standard.
I thought it
Okay.
was. It's raw material.
Raw material. That's what it's for.
Raw or processed substance consumed to provide nutritional support and energy.
Okay. I then withdraw my comment there. Um, um, Regulation 3542D, I'm almost done, guys. I know it's late. I'm sorry.
3542D, the
Yep.
regulation.
This is also grammatical, and I will say I would have given these to Danielle earlier on, but I literally finished today. Under payment responsibilities, second paragraph. It says copied of this press release. It should be copies with an S.
Really a typo.
Yeah.
Okay.
General question. There's a lot of pest management and nutrition stuff in this policy. Has both Mr. Garcia and the director of the nutrition center reviewed these documents to make sure they're um implementable?
Through the chair.
Yes.
Yes, so the Director of Nutrition and the Chief Operations Officer reviewed these, and you'll see some corrections in the food service policy based on the Director of the Nutrition Center's recommendations.
Perfect. I was hoping you would say that. Okay. So moving right along, 35 regulation 3542C. Um, and I think this is up for debate. So farm to school program, which I really like. It says that farm to school program will have a preference, if you will, over other bidders. But earlier in this policy, it says that the lowest bidder basically wins, and we're kind of contradicting each other. So I feel like we need to take a stance. What takes precedent, the lower bid or farm to school?
So I would say whatever's in the policy
What's the number?
would take precedence over the regulation, right? So
So it's 3542C,
42C,
and it's
the regulation,
yeah.
the regulation we're looking at.
Sure.
Uh,
Since we got the city attorney here, I think we should take advantage of him. Would that be a legal preference to prefer one over another if it's a lowest bid?
Usually the criteria is the lowest responsible and responsive bidder. Price is not only, it depends. If you're doing an RFP or an RFQ, price is not the sole function. If it's a sealed bid, price is the sole function and determinant so long as you meet the qualifications to be a responsive and responsible bidder.
Right, but how about like memorializing a specific entity within our policies or regulations to have preference regardless of
You
price?
can't.
Well, that would completely, I believe, deviate from our procurement policies. The Board of Ed follows the city's procurement policies. And you can purchase in a variety of ways, including off the state bid list. But we don't have specific built-in preferences that I'm aware of for, and I think it would be improper to do so. So again, since I was checking something different at the time, what is the language that we're looking to
can you repeat
address?
that, Rita?
Yeah, it's all other factors being equal, the board shall give preference to the RFP or bid that promotes
Hold
the
on, just a minute.
purchase.
We're on the right page. We have to go down a little bit to farm to
It's
school program.
third paragraph.
No, that's on the regulation. Yeah,
Yeah.
farm to school program.
Yep. So it's that last sentence. Wait, why does yours look different?
Maybe it was updated already. Are you on the regulation? Okay. Yeah, mine does look different too.
On mine, it does say a farm to school program optional revision / addition to policy. So if what Danielle has is like the
okay.
latest and greatest, then what I have is
So you didn't, it didn't make it,
updated.
it didn't make it into the final? Is that?
This is, this,
Oh.
this is copied from the policy committee and highlighted with.
Yeah. Well, on our portal, we're seeing the regulation, farm to school program on page of that specific 3542. It's on, page 15. Which I don't know if it's on page 15 for you, if you have a larger document. It's the, all right, so we have, it's under business non-instructional operations, food service, farm to school program.
Right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's that last sentence under, so under farm to school program, first paragraph, last sentence.
So all other factors being equal.
Yep.
So the optional, okay. Other factors.
Okay, but this basically says that everything else being equal, we're gonna pick them. And everything else being equal means
Price.
we have the price first.
I don't see a problem with that language, provided that that is listed in the bid or the RFP that's issued. Because if it's in your bylaws or your policy, but it's not in the public bid, it's not giving adequate notice to the bidders. So if you're gonna leave that language in there, somebody better make sure that it's in every public bid that goes out.
Which goes back to the question Maritza asked a moment ago about making sure the director of nutrition has read through this language. If we're serious about this program,
Well,
and the state is pushing this program. I mean, this is a program near and dear to the heart of the state too, although we certainly are not pushing it to the degree that we're going to ignore cost, obviously, but we are interested in encouraging local produce to be
Well,
used.
are you, Maritza, you had just mentioned that the policy says something different than the regulation, but I'm looking and I think it's the same, unless I'm missing something in the actual policy above.
So the policy says that we will select the lowest bidder. So in my thought process, this almost says that we're gonna give preference to farm to school program. So if, let's say, for example, there's a bidder
I don't see that.
that's slightly above the lowest bidder, but it's a farm to school program, we would go with them rather than the lowest bidder. So there's a potential contradiction there, unless I'm
I just-
reading this incorrectly.
Just to clarify, I don't know if I see it in the policy, the lowest bidder, unless I'm missing something. So above,
I, it's not in this 3542, it's in the 3000 series somewhere, and I did not
not
label
specific
it.
to the, not specific to the farm, to
Not
school.
specific to the
You're talking about
farm.
in bids in general, okay.
Yes.
The concept of going with the lowest bidder is emblazoned in the city's purchasing ordinance, which you follow. I think as Commissioner Traber said a minute ago, you have qualifying language here, which says all other factors being equal, the board shall give preference to the RFP or bid that promotes the purchase of local farm products. Now, in an RFP, price is not the sole selective criteria, so they do a weighing and a grading of comparisons. But in a sealed bid, price is the determining quotient. And if local farm products are more expensive, then they're not getting it because all other factors are not equal. The only factor that matters in a sealed bid is price and that you're a responsive and responsible bidder. So the flexibility is going to be in the RFP process. I would suggest that if you want to leave that language for now, that's fine. But I would strongly suggest that whoever's doing the purchasing, I know there's a purchasing agent specifically assigned to the Board of Ed out of the city's purchasing department. I would want to make sure that the whoever's purchasing for nutrition sits down with that person whenever they're doing their bids and maybe even talks about this specific item.
Mr. Colvin.
Yeah, it's not the, again, would it be like if when we put out the RFP, would it be like, could we do something similar to like the minority preference points as bonus points or something like that when we put them out?
Well,
So
in the RFP, you know, in an RFP, you could theoretically issue an RFP that says we only want local farm respondents. Now, that's going to kill your price because I actually
Definitely.
coincidentally heard something this very day on the radio. Someone was talking about promoting local farms, and they said in Connecticut, only 2% of the food consumed in Connecticut is produced in Connecticut. So you're not getting a lot of local product for a competitive price that I'm aware of. But I'm not looking to weigh in on the policy game.
Right, right. Yeah, my concern is just overburdening the people writing these things.
Microphone. Microphone. Thank you.
If we had a bid for apples, a contract for apples, then you could do it. You could conceive if you had a selective bid, because we do snacks, you know, something like that. You could see doing it like that.
Listen,
You're not doing it. I mean, you're not doing a broad base. You're doing something very narrow.
right,
You know.
if you're specifically focused on purchasing local farm products, you're probably not going to want to do a sealed bid because price is going to
Right.
defeat it. You're going to have to do an RFP or an RFQ, and you're going to have to also be cognizant of the fact that while it is a laudable public policy to try to support local vendors and local producers, you also have to recognize that what have you just been going through? A budget crisis. A budget crisis. So there's trade-offs. It's wonderful for the state to have a policy. I'm not against that policy, but there's a cost to that policy conceivably. And that is that you have less money for other needs of the district. So you need to think carefully about how much of this discretionary expenditure you want to engage in. That's all.
Right, and seeing as this is a optional revision and it's not embodied in the process, and we can actually do it later and add it to the RFPs, I would suggest not adopting
That specific
this
regulation.
specific optional revision.
There's already a policy on it. Well, there's already a policy on it, so this is just a regulation. We already have if we adopt the actual 3000 series, the policy's right above it. This piece is just optional.
Just to layer in over that, it's actually a great suggestion because of your financial needs and the fact that this is going to get determined on a case-by-case basis when you go out for procurement. I would suggest that there's no necessity to put it in your policy, but you should bring that goal to the attention of whoever's doing your purchasing, both in the department and in the purchasing department of the city, and make sure that wherever they think it's appropriate and you want to spend the money, then you put it in there. But putting it in here raises the specter that you're going to do it on almost a universal basis, and I don't think that's your intent.
All right.
So do we want to make I can make the motion just to strike out that entire paragraph, those two paragraphs.
So
If-
motion made,
I'll second.
second by Mr. Sakalovic. See no debate, all in favor, say aye.
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 to strike the paragraph. No, just the farm to, just the
Yep.
farm to.
What was it called? Oh, sure. 1, 2,
Just those two
Just
paragraphs
three
under
online.
farm to
3
school.
on it?
Yep. Perfect. Okay. Almost done.
We have to pause. We lost quorum. One,
Oh, wait,
two,
it's different.
one,
Oh.
two,
Well, yeah, I'm trying to
three.
figure out.
Yeah,
the-
we lost
the-
quorum.
This commercial shoot. Oh, call, we can't even call from 5-minute recess either. 'Cause-
We can't take a vote yet. Or,
Yeah.
yeah.
Just check that one.
Yeah.
If you get Willie, Albert to jump.
Don't, Madam Chair, don't we have quorum? We have you, Joe.
No, we only have 2 people in person right now. Somebody stepped out to the bathroom. I think.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
All right, we have quorum. We can take the vote on striking that paragraph. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We had a no. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, that passes. Do you have more, Ms. Estromero Jimenez?
Yeah, I have just 2 more.
Okay.
And these 2 are just like strikeouts of language that doesn't apply to the district. So, P 3542.41A. That's 3542.41A. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 5th paragraph, it's talking about districts with 2,400 students, 2,499 or less. If that doesn't apply to us, should this even be in here?
Yeah, I think we could strike that. That's what's additional. What say you? You think? Yeah. So the motion's been made to strike that paragraph.
Second.
And it's seconded by Mr. Sakalovic. Motion was made by Mr. Traber. Anything else on that page before we?
No.
Okay, so all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, the next one?
Okay. Next one, similar, R 3542.41C. This is a regulation, so I'm not sure if it's appropriate, but to strike it out, but items 1 and 2 are for smaller districts. So they're for students under 10,000. So my proposal is to strike out 1 and 2, but I'm not sure if that's appropriate or not.
You had it, you actually had it, yeah.
Yeah,
Salary
starts there.
standards. So number 1 and then go down. What's number 2? Oh, wait.
It's for
You said,
students.
what, you said 1 and 2?
Yep.
Oh, there we go, okay.
Yeah, because the one that really applies to us is number 3.
Okay. Do you think?
Just a process question, if I could,
Uh-huh.
Madam Chair. I'm a little confused as to why in your policies, you're repeating state regulations or state statutes. That's not the purpose of a policy. This may be the law, but I don't even know why it's in here.
This one's a regulation.
Regulation of who? State regulation? It's gotta be a state regulation because it's talking about other districts. Why?
This is from the model from CABE, so I think it was
Okay,
probably
Cade gives
optional.
you their- Cade
Yeah, I
gives
think
you
they
their
just
models
didn't remove it.
why.
Yeah.
And we don't just take that stuff and throw it
Yeah.
into ours. I mean, these are great
That's why,
edits,
yeah, that's why we're.
great edits. I can't imagine there's probably more that we missed because CABE is giving you soup to nuts and they're probably expecting you to tailor them to your system.
Mhm.
At a minimum, I would wholeheartedly agree, we ought to take out anything that we recognize does not apply to our
Yeah.
district. And I don't know why it says at the beginning, the title, minimum standards for all school nutrition program directors. It should be for the city, for the Bridgeport program director. Because we don't care about what the rules are for smaller districts. It just,
Yeah, so strike,
Motion
yeah,
to
strike that
one
and then,
2 in its entirely and move 2 up to 1 and renumber
Well-
everything.
well, hold on, go back to the new number 1. What Mark just said, no, the new one. You struck all that, so go back down. So for our district,
Mm-hmm.
make it specific to Bridgeport. So instead of. Right, you had it,
You're right.
you had it. The school nutrition program director with local education agency with Bridgeport Public Schools. So strike that first
Bridgeport-
sentence, directors must meet the following requirements.
Bridgeport Public School nutrition program directors
Okay, so strike,
must meet the following requirements. Did I get that right?
he's coming back.
But if you,
I'm sorry, I just jumping in again.
Go ahead.
I want to follow up on what was said to me, which is, these are regulations.
What's the
Is
policy?
this our regulations or is this supposed to be a compendium of state regulations that we have to abide by? In which case, just reprint their regulation. What is the title of this?
Correct. So the state legislated certain policies to be passed by each Board of Education. So there's the policy and then the regulation that goes with it. And to your point, the regulations are more administrative in the district. They don't really, the board obviously has a stake in the regulation, but it's really more of how the district conducts. So the board approves the policy, and according to CABE, the district, uses the regulation to enact the policy, but they're not, this pest control, the food nutrition, the green cleaning were all state mandated policies that we have to. Now, I don't, we've made updates and changes. So it's not like you have to pass the policy 100% because you saw that there are things that we struck where they say optional. However, we do need a policy in each of these categories. The regulations, we have more flexibility with on how we enact the policy. So we can certainly, make the regulations more Bridgeport specific,
Yeah,
while still adhering to the mandated policy that's required.
Mr. Sakala.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, and as far as the policies in the state and being state mandated, a lot of that, I'm not sure if the state languages must include all of the things that they suggest. They suggest that school districts must have policies, 10,000, this number must have a policy for this, and this number must have a policy for that, and that number must have a policy for that. Not that you got to include each and every one in there, and I don't think that's the intention of the statutes to create that.
Mr. Faber.
So in this, is the state mandating that we have regulations that match the policies?
Dr.
Through the
Sanders.
chair. So those specific policies, the green cleaning, the food service, and the pest control had regulations that go with the policy that the state required the boards to pass, the policy and the regulation. So you have to have a policy for each of those and a regulation to go with it, where you notify the public how you're going to do your pest control, how you're going to do your food service, and how you're going to do your green cleaning. But to the board's point, we can edit within that policy to make it specific for our own local district. However, we're required to have those three policies generally as written so that it satisfies the statute that we have to pass those three policies according to statute. But there is some flexibility with the regulation on how we word,
I understand.
but we're required, the policy, all those three policies came with the regulation.
I gotta tell you, I'm more confused than ever. I have no idea why the state would adopt a state policy, which is mandatory, and then tell you, you have to adopt their policy. It's already state law. If it's a state regulation, if it's a regulation of the state, it's binding on you.
Mhm.
Only the portions that apply to you. I could see you having a policy that says we're going to adhere to regulation number such and such. Why are we rewriting their regulations, picking and choosing what applies to us? A state regulation is like a statute. It's binding on you. There's regs for every department of the state, and you have to adhere to them. You don't have to take and pick and choose and adopt your own. I don't know who's given this advice, but it doesn't make sense to me. That's all I can tell you. It's a nonsensical, I didn't say that because maybe I don't know enough to say that.
Yeah,
But it seems very odd that they would say, we adopted a mandatory state regulation. Now we want you to adopt a policy that says you'll abide by our regulation and you're free to rewrite it for the portions that apply to you. It just doesn't
Mhm.
line up.
yeah, I agree with Anastasia. And just one question, if we leave it alone in the interest of time, it doesn't harm us any, right?
I would say let's take out what we don't need though. We don't need
Either
the,
or,
yeah, we don't need
whatever in
the
interest of
smaller
time.
districts. So I think we struck that.
Motion to strike.
And then if we could just change the language of that new one, school nutrition
No.
program director, just put the
No, Joe.
nutrition program director will meet the following requirements. Because we already know we're at 10,000
And then we need
plus
to move
district.
we need to move the adoption.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So the amendment. So you made amendment to,
Motion to strike, I forgot what it was, motion to strike 1 and 2 in its entirely and renumber everything else to conform with the policy.
okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any further debate on that?
Nope.
So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, that passes. And again, this is something that can come before us later on if we need to adjust it. For the sake of having the policy there, we'll adopt it. Any other changes?
One last one, the last one.
I feel like you said one last one already, but we'll let you go.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was not
We're counting.
accurate.
Last one. Wait,
This
there's
one's
more.
really the last one. Regulation 3543.31C. It talks about retention of electronic records, and the language is a little bit antiquated, talking about like removable disks and all of that. But we're not talking about like cloud-based right there. And my question is, should we put something like what we use, SharePoint or cloud-based devices or systems to also be included as part of this section V or 5?
You're tell us again where you are, because I'm on the road. Okay, I see you.
Yep.
So this is, I'm getting there.
So in the bullets 1 through 5,
Mhm.
some of this stuff is kind of like old. It doesn't really cover cloud-based, like saving places like SharePoint or the iCloud.
This again is a state regulation, correct?
Yes.
The state has an entire multitude of records retention policies. Again, they're mandatory. They apply to every municipality. There are ones that apply to police departments, personnel records, everything. For the life of me, I have no idea why we are readopting state regulations that already exist. This whole process
What,
is at odds.
would number 5 on that answer, manage at the server by an automatic classification system? Would that be like a cloud? I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm not into tech like that.
Yes.
Don't worry.
Sorry, if I may interject, the language actually reads, which may include the following. It doesn't look
Okay, so not
limited
limited?
and exhaustive. So I think everything else is,
Okay.
maybe that would be a good addition.
If I
Or
could,
may,
maybe
there.
through the chair to Danielle. These regulations relate to the series 3,000 policies.
Yep.
Did the prior version of our 3,000 policies list these regulations? Or is this something new that?
It's on state mandated regulations, formally board approved policy, and the regulation was formally under the district's control and how they were going to implement and succeed their policy.
Because I gotta be honest with you, if I was the state, I would now have to go and review every one of your rewritten regulations to see if you deleted them properly so that they are in compliance with the state regulation. To my mind, we should be adopting policies that adhere and require adherence to the state regulations. And you apply the portions that apply to you instead of trying to rewrite them. Now you're gonna have 3 sets of documents, our policies, the state regulations, and our own tailored regulations. So who are we dealing with at the state that told us to do this?
Sorry, it's through the State Department of Education. Part of the forensic audit, we needed to enact 3,000 series, 2,000 series, and 9,000 series policies to address some of the findings in the audits from the state.
Policies is great, but you're saying that the policies require us to include the regulation.
Certain policies do, yeah.
Those are policies or policies that state said we had to include?
The 3 for tonight in the 3,000 series, the green cleaning, the food service, and the pest control were required state policies that included regulations.
But I bet all the state is saying is you have to adhere to our regulations. Not that you have to rewrite them to, right?
As it was presented to us, the guidance from the state and from CABE was that to adopt it as written.
As written.
Right,
But we're not doing that. We're tailoring them.
Yeah.
It's the board,
right, and to Ms.
the board's
And
prerogative.
to both-
It's
to
not-
everybody's point, the state, and CABE and everybody who's been before us, when there were suggestions to make common sense revisions to tailor to our district, it's like, oh, no, we gotta leave it like this. The CABE's the professionals, leave it like it is. However, CABE got 169 districts and the state also got 169 districts. They're not Bridgeport
And I
specific.
guarantee the state does not want 169 versions of their rewritten regulation. What they want you to do is adopt a policy that references the state regulations and says we're going to adhere to it.
Right.
To the extent it applies to us.
System.
Right. That's what we should be doing. If CABE's the one that said leave it as the state drafted it, I would agree with that. What we've done tonight, for better or worse, through good motive and everything, is to try to tailor it to us. But that, I think, is just going to create massive confusion. And I hate to say it, but if you want to adopt these, fine, because you got to get them out there pressuring you. But we should take a real hard look at just referencing the existing state regulations, which is the law anyway, and stop trying to kill ourselves to create a third document.
Mr. Colvin?
Yeah, just trying to figure out the best way forward to get this actually done this evening. I suggestion we did just pass the policies as is and remove the regulations, or put all the language back into the regulations that was amended this
not doing that.
evening. Yeah, no, that's what I was trying to say. I don't want to come back again.
Mr. Traber?
Well, if I am understanding that there are essentially two things here. And I don't know how we became entwined, but there is two things we're voting on. One is policy, one is regulation. And it sounds eminently reasonable to me what council is saying, which is the regulation is a perhaps misguided effort. And the policy is what we need to do for the sake of passing muster with the state. So we can vote to pass as presented on the agenda, the approval of revised policy series 3000. Now, it just happens that in that what we're voting on, we also played around with the regulations, which is irrelevant to what we're passing tonight. And in fact, when the administration checks, we're going to find out that council was right and that everything that we did there was for naught, because the regulation stands as written by the state. And so it was an exercise in futility. And so chalk that one up to lesson learned. We didn't need to do that. It was there for the sake of advising us on what our policy needed to be consistent with, not for us to play around with. And so lesson learned over there. So, but what we passed tonight is still passed in terms of policy. And so we're fine. And we vote tonight to pass the policy, and if the regulation was allowed to be played around with, we played around with it. If it wasn't, it goes back to what it was. It reverts back to what the state mandated. And we didn't do anything wrong.
Ms. Anastasia?
Or you could.
Because the law prevails.
We're going to, at the end of this, we're gonna adopt all the amendments to the policies. And we're gonna leave the state regulations the way they were written. But if you want to.
Well, whatever we vote on, the law prevails. So if we say we're gonna pass
Creating
the policy and the regulatory changes we made, and then we find out, oops, can't do that. Oop, the law says that those regulatory changes can't be done, and we go back, it reverts back to the state regulations as is, right?
Yeah, whatever, either solution, I think it's fine.
Right? That is what happens. The law trumps whatever we did. Danielle has her hand up.
Danielle, do you have a microphone? Oh,
Yeah.
I'll allow you now to speak.
Just for clarity, I want everyone to know that I found the list of the state mandated ones. I have the list, if anyone wants me to read them, that are the state mandated in case we made changes, so that it's on the record, or we can go ahead as Rob said. Mark?
Yeah, you can read them.
Say state mandate. Mandated what? They've already adopted regulations. Are they mandating we adopt regulations? Why you have to adopt something that's already the law is confusing to me. What do they say in their notice?
Well, they're telling us that these are these are policies that, what was it exactly, Chris, that we're mandated to have?
Right, and you're doing that. My question is, where are they asking us to either adopt state regulations? Because you don't get to adopt statutes and regulations. They apply to everybody, whether you like it or not. You don't have to adopt them. So maybe they wanted us to adopt policies that reference the state regulations. That would make certain sense. because now you have them all in one place. But if you're gonna do that, it makes sense to adopt the regulation as written by the state and not tailoring it to us. When we read it, we know what applies to us. It's like reading a statute that says a municipality with more than 125,000 people does X, and below that you do Y. You don't rewrite the statute, you adhere to what applies to you. So
Oh, I agree.
I would think the cleanest thing would be to
Adopt it.
adopt the amendments to the policies and leave the state regulations the way they're drafted. There's nothing compelling us to amend, even if they said we could amend them. They didn't say we had to amend the state regs, did they?
Through the chair, no, it's the policies that are required. But in this case, the regulations came with the policy. And I think, their point would be that there's probably a public interest in some of those cases to alert how you're managing that policy. What is your pest control system? What's your food service purchasing, the regulation, how you manage
You
it?
can reference those and attach them to the policy as drafted. Just say, this is the state regulation, and in our policy, we're adhering to state regulations. And I apologize to you for jumping in here, not
It's
histories. No, it is, but the,
Make a
You're
motion
right.
to approve the policy series 3000. As amended tonight.
As amended tonight. You want a second?
Yeah, and I just want to maybe add a little something. Leaving the implementation up to the superintendent. Because that'll cover him doing the regulations
No,
or not, no?
I'm approving the policy
Second.
series
Policy.
3000 as
Second.
amended tonight.
Second,
Ms. Shamir Jimenez,
Yes.
your hand was up, sorry.
Oh, sorry, I forgot I had it up. I just wanted to say I went through all our voting and there was only 2 regulations which we made edits to. So I'm not sure if we wanted to go back and just like withdraw those,
No,
or not.
yeah.
We're
we could make
approving the
sections.
policy series.
Okay.
Just the policies you're saying, or the regulation?
I'm
Um,
saying I made a motion to approve the policy series 3000
Policy series as presented to us?
as
awesome.
What was your motion? Say it one more time for it.
I moved to approve the revised policy series 3000.
Okay. Was in second,
As amended tonight.
as amended tonight. Okay, seeing no further questions. All in favor, say aye.
aye,
I
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Right, that passes. Mr. Sakalik, do you have something?
No,
Oh, I
I
thought you,
should
okay. Ooh, all right. Thank you, Dr. Stiano, for all this, and Danielle, and anybody else in your office who's been, I know, sweating and crying over these policies for us. I appreciate you guys. I know the board appreciates the work you're done. So thank you so much. And we're not done yet. All right. Who wants to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion made by Mr. Skolovich. I'll second it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting
Aye.
adjourns at 10:06. Good night, everybody.